Keep talking for me.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Broadcasting not live from Burbank, California to the world with Sketch-O-Matic. We back on the podcast, bringing it back one time.
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
As I sip on my Alfred's coffee.
Sketch-O-Matic.
Shout out to Eva, Alyssa, and the gang over at Alfred's for hooking me up. And always having the old O-Matics back on the caffeine dose. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sketch-O Show podcast. I'm on a roll. Sketchy. In this month of March when this is being recorded. Stacking episodes back to back to back. And putting them out as fast as possible. And today I'm lucky, again, to reconnect with one of my dear friends that I've known, for a long, long time. But, you know, we're both grown adults. He's doing his thing. He's a successful producer, a studio owner, DJ. He's a great, talented musician and artist. I mean, the list goes on. But more so,
wow,
he's a dear friend of mine, and I'm glad that he's been able to make some time to come back on the Sketch-O Show podcast. He was on early on when the podcast first started. I don't exactly know what episode he was on. I think it was in the 20s or 30s. This is like episode 67 or 66. I don't know. I'm losing count. I think I'm just going to stop counting, but we're definitely in the 60s now. Look, I'm just excited because we haven't seen each other in at least a year. I think the last time I saw my man was, I can't even recall. We're going to get into it, but it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step two. Sorry about that. I'm getting sidetracked here by Timbaland and Aaliyah. Okay, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the talented and the always effervescent in a good attitude, good mood. Never, ever seen this guy angry, except at me when I pushed him too far. Splyce!
Oh my God!
Man, thank you for having me. It is an honor to be back.
Yeah.
It feels good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I am proud of you, bro. You've been rocking this podcast for a long time, and I was here early on, and you were still rocking it, and it's bigger and better.
It's only been an uphill challenge for me, my friend. But man, I've been wanting to have you back on, but you've been busy and you've been working and traveling, and I've seen you out there with the Topanga Hills Mafia.
Yes, sir.
Now, real quick, before we dive into everything Splyce, I want to point out that last time you were on the podcast, we didn't get a chance to cover the music portion. We really just went through your history on how you got into DJing, your parents who were supportive, Larry King on CNN, your appearance on there.
DJ Splyce.
And then, we talked about the restaurant business that you were involved with for a while. But we never got to Topanga Hills Mafia. I think Topanga Hills Mafia, your music group with Crazy Chris, was just kind of starting. It wasn't exactly where it's at now. And we can really dive into that side of you, the Splyce Studios, the creation of Topanga Hills Mafia music with Crazy Chris. Is it just you and Crazy Chris, or is there a third member? And who is the third member?
Yeah, great question. So basically, it's even bigger than the three of us, but the core group is the iconic producer out of Mexico, Jay Silva. So talented.
That's right.
And he's worked with some of the biggest artists in the world and the biggest Latin artists in the world, and he's found great success as a music producer, as an artist as well. So he's a member of the group. There is, I would say, the leader of the group, Crazy Chris Films, and then there's myself. But it's bigger than the three of us because it's a collective. It's basically an embracing and an inclusion of people that like our brand and want to be a part of the brand and have stuff to contribute or want to collaborate on stuff. So it's really like a bigger collective thing. I remember there was a point where Chris made us each little stickers and little characters, almost like our own cartoon character. I remember that. And he had maybe a collection of like 25 little characters that had all played a role in the brand and are all a part of it. And I think that that's a really cool thing, which is different than I see with most artists that are just focused on themselves.
Right.
He's kind of like, let's bring everyone into this world of what we do and what we make. So
and
it
you
is
kind of like take a step back as opposed to being all up in the front.
Right.
You're just kind of like, you're a collective, but you bring other people in to make Topanga Hills Mafia. What is it? Is it more diverse, or what's the perspective on that?
It's a very fun brand where he isn't making it only one kind of genre, and not one kind of music. Almost every song we have is a collaboration track. So basically, there's different artists from around the world. We have collabs from Mexico to India to all across the United States. Back then, I think one of our biggest accomplishments at the time was like a official Steve Aoki remix for a song
I remember that
he had, and that was released, and that was really exciting for us.
Let me ask you, can we play a clip of the Steve Aoki remix?
Absolutely.
And what's the track called?
Perfect.
Perfect. All right, let's play a clip of that right here.
I found a girl and I like her. I done been around some girls, but I like her. My whole gang agrees on my wife, her. I want you to stay with me, no one night hurts. I found a girl and she's perfect. I done been around the world, she's worth it. Racing to your heart, I swear I got first dibs. Coming for your love, I swear I put the work in. Till I put up in it for and it's a fast whip. Staring so hard, I almost crashed and started laughing. Switch the mood, let me choose what you think about me and you. We can't lose different views, you know we could pick and choose.
So this track right here features PNB Rock and 24 Hours. Rest in peace, PNB Rock. And obviously the record was made when he was still alive, and after what happened.
Oh yeah, PNB Rock was the rapper that got shot at Roscoe's.
Yeah, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
That was out here in LA.
Yeah,
I remember that. That was like, what, 2 years ago?
that was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Did they ever find who did that?
I don't know. I never followed up on that.
And did you meet PNB?
I did not meet him. No, I didn't meet him. They had sent us the stems for the track, and then out of respect, the song didn't come out for a long time. We didn't know if it was ever going to come out, and then it did end up getting released later. And so so that song came out, and it really
Steve Aoki getting involved.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that all come about? Because of your relationship with Steve?
Yeah, well, it was actually all through Chris. Crazy Chris Films has the relationship and had the relationship and got the opportunity to present a remix. And of course, it had to go through the process and get approved. And it was a celebration when I got the good news that it was approved and it was coming out. And that really helped solidify the brand and kind of set a lot more stuff in motion. Like, we went and played shows in Japan, and it was cool to see fans that showed up that had, merch from our brand and that were holding signs up and knew the words to the songs. And that was one of the songs that they knew and they were excited to hear.
They don't even speak English regularly.
Well, it was wild. That was a really wild thing to see.
And were they like the little characters that Chris created?
No, I mean, the shirts that they had were just these really cool, that college kind of font. It said Topanga Hills Mafia, but in that college.
Like Letterman.
Yeah, exactly that. So they had those shirts on. And then, they'd made signs and they knew the words to those songs. So it was a weird experience. It was really cool.
And now that's like, this is your first time being part of a group.
Right.
Because you've always been like a solo DJ artist, and to see you on stage or to be on stage with your peers, right? Your counterparts. What's that like? I mean, is it like completely new to them? Because I know you're used to this type of environment on stage, getting the spotlight. You look like a celebrity. You have that appeal to you, right? Automatically, the aesthetic of Splyce is like, this guy he's important. You can tell.
He's sensational.
But, Crazy Chris and Jay Silva, they're more producers. I don't know about Silva that much, but I know that Crazy Chris is more like in the back scene, the behind the scenes.
Right.
But now you guys are catapulted to the forefront.
Right.
What's that like?
I can tell you that it was really fun and interesting because as a DJ myself, it was different because this was actually performing like an artist. And it was something that I've strived for, it's something I've wanted, and it was presented in a different way than it was just for me as part of the group. But there's a lot of getting used to. Yeah. There's a lot more discussion. There's a lot more collaborative decision making, which can really test your patience if you are a hard-headed person that's stubborn and you only want to do things your way, because now you have to be, and I'm not saying I'm like that or he's like that, I'm just saying that, like,
I don't know, man.
I might have
kind of a tyrannical ruler, if you know. I'm just playing.
No, I mean, I think that it does take the collaboration and the patience and understanding and understanding someone else's vision, or not understanding it but trusting the process, or having to like bend in places that you might not naturally bend.
Right.
You know, and then saying, okay, let's try this or let's do that. Or I wouldn't necessarily do it this way for me, but this is a little bit of a different experience. But it was different for two parts. It was one, showing up as an artist where, like I said, I've been an active DJ, but I DJ'd a lot of places where I was sort of serving them and trying to make sure that, like, no matter what, the client came first. And in this case, it was a different thing. It was like as if the audience came for what we were there to give them. Does that make sense?
Right, they're there for you.
And I think I had lunch with a couple DJs, Scratchy and DJ 5. And
Nice.
I think they said that Eric Deluxe had a really good example of the kind of DJs, like the open format DJs versus like, I suppose the now headlining artist DJs.
Right. And like dedicated genre DJs, right?
And what he said was that like the open format DJs were like a menu from the Cheesecake Factory, right? Where it's
This is
like
Deluxe's example.
Right. It was like that versus the other DJs are like an omakase style sushi chef.
like Tiesto.
Like you sit down, right. And
Okay.
it's like they give you
right.
what, and that was like the best example.
Wow,
Like,
that is pretty dope, man.
I loved it.
Shout out to Eric Deluxe,
Yeah.
5 and Scratchy.
Yeah.
Wow. And so they gave you DAP then on this, right? Is it a positive compliment or how do we interpret this?
Well, no, I mean, it was definitely that second thing
Yeah.
was what it was, which was like when we go do this show and it's really a show, it's a little bit less flexible because it's like we know what we're going to go up there and do.
Right.
And we've practiced it and we've, played it out in our heads. And then it's just going and performing and then seeing if everything that we thought plays out the way that we thought it would.
Okay, I got two more questions or two
And
different
that's newer
questions.
for me.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more questions on the rehearsing of your performances and then also what it's like for you to delve into genres like Spanish music with Silva. That
Right.
I know you don't really
God,
speak Spanish.
yes.
I mean, I don't speak Spanish.
Man,
not
yes.
normally,
Yes.
not regularly, but for me, like when we've DJ'd together and like we get requests for like cumbias
Right.
and all the merengue and like just different mumbatan and reggaeton. Some of the artists, you and I are like,
Right.
we don't know. We're going on YouTube downloading like tracks on the fly while we're DJing and trying to answer to requests on the spot.
Literally.
And that's very nerve-wracking. And we're just DJing. And really, it's you DJing. I'm just on the mic going, hey, Splyce, do you have that one track, this cumbias track? And
Right.
I show you the phone, and you're like, oh, okay, no problem. You pull it down. That's a different type of stress. But being a performer in front of a crowd that is there to see you, particularly, I mean, how do you prepare for the rehearsals? Who does what? And what's that process like?
Yeah, such a great question because the process is a lot of behind the scenes work, which includes custom editing. So playlist selection means listening to so much music, right? But also incorporating our own music strategically, but then having a certain amount of time to be respectful for the DJs before us and after us to make sure that the set is exactly where we want to be. And what that means is now we are timing everything, exact timing on songs. And it's different than what I'm used to because with open format DJing, if a song is working well,
Right.
I'm going to let it run longer. And in this case, we have to sort of pre-plan how well that part is going to go or how much time we have to play that one song. And so song selection really comes into play in a different way. And editing, custom editing, and obviously mixing in key and doing all the strategic, like decisions is important. So that plays a big role ahead of time, which is newer and it's more constraining.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're pigeonholed into a specific slot of time.
Right.
Right. And that's, to me, it's also equivalent to doing a radio shift on air where you have to be out at a hard time to go into commercials or to whatever giveaway or contest, etc. Like there's certain hard outs and hard ins. Top of the hour, you got to say those call letters.
Right.
Somewhere between the 5 minutes before the top of the hour, 5 minutes
Is there
after.
5 minute leeway each way?
Yeah, 5 minutes. I don't know about nowadays, but I'm
Right.
sure it's still the same where you can say it 5 minutes to the top or 5 minutes after, but you have to say it.
Right,
You have to
right,
say it.
right.
It's like law.
Yeah, top of the hour,
FCC law. You have to say it. But that's what it reminds me of. It's like these constraints of timing and performing. Is there ever a time where you're performing and you got it so mapped out? It's so you got everybody's in sync, right? Not the band, but with each other, right?
Right.
Yeah, you guys are synced up.
Yeah.
And then it's not going the way you thought it was going to go with the crowd. How do you weather that? How do you?
That's happened.
Yeah.
Bound to happen because we're not psychics.
Right.
I luckily have the open format experience to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I have the music collection to fall back on, and basically that DJ skill set.
Thank God.
But sometimes it's just the feedback we get after. So in the moment, we're doing what we do, and then if we get feedback after, then it's just one of those things where you adjust. You just adjust. You pivot.
You got to pivot.
You have to learn from the mistakes, stay positive, and know that, okay, that, didn't work as well as we thought it was going to work. So it's time to just change that up. Fortunately, that's not been a massive issue.
It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Right.
But, there's times where we're playing songs a little bit faster than we thought we would. And I can always just pull extra songs or things that fit the brand. But I know that, like, part of what we were talking about is just that pre-planning is part of what, like, molds our identity as artists. So, like, that's where we are doing that shaping, because the open format stuff can just get a little bit loose, where if we want to be a certain thing, that's when we have to, like, do the pre-planning.
You gotta lock it down.
That brings into, like, the Spanish music we were just talking about.
Yeah.
When you're an open format DJ, the technology now is so crazy that I can be on Wi-Fi and I'm able to download a song that I've never heard, and it will tell me the key and it'll tell me the BPM and it'll come with an intro. So if you're savvy enough to just mix it in at the right time and place, you can make these songs you've never heard work. And if it's a request that they know, sometimes the crowd will go crazy on a song that you downloaded 9 seconds ago.
And by the way, no headphones either.
Yeah,
Splyce.
part's wild too.
He DJs with no headphones. I know that other DJs, nowadays, DJs don't really need headphones because you have the screen to go off of and the waveforms that are in front of you, whether on the CDJs or on your Serato or whatever computer you're on, right? But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the no headphone thing is a different kind of skill set that I started doing and practiced, and it doesn't always go perfect, but I will say overwhelmingly, like, the no headphones versus the amount of mistakes is just overwhelmingly, like, so insignificantly small that it's so worthwhile.
The margins are very tiny.
Right. Like, there's going to be a mistake here or there, but it's like I can correct it quickly, and I'm able to, like, adjust that it's not overly noticeable. And even if it is, it's not an extremely big problem that happens so frequently that,
Yeah. Now, how often has those moments happened in your performance? How many of those have already occurred in your experience?
They've happened, but I would say, like, I'm going to downplay it and be like, it's way less. And then, like, really close friends that come watch the set are going to, like, be like, no, it's probably more than he thinks. But,
but those guys are picking apart. They're splitting hairs, though, bro. The general public doesn't care that as much as we do. We're listening with, like, both ears and our third eye.
Right.
And we're fully, like, picking apart every little thing. Remember when we went to go see the Chainsmokers, right?
Yeah.
At the iHeart Theater?
Yeah.
And this isn't a knock on Chainsmokers. Right. I love their music. I love those guys. They're fantastic. But when we saw them perform, they were kind of pantomiming. Remember? And again, no knock. I get it. It's a performance. I get it. Maybe, something wasn't even connected. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me. They were there in the flesh. They even had a drummer on stage who was fucking killing it.
Yeah,
like Travis Barker fucking killing it.
Yep.
Right? It wasn't Travis Barker. I'm just saying he was at that level of killing it. But there was we were like, yo, are they even playing? What do you guys do on stage? Do you at all have to do what the Chainsmokers did?
We don't, because I carry most of the heavy lifting with the DJ portion. Crazy Chris is definitely involved with the DJing and the hype man, you know what I mean? So he plays his hype man role. But, like, for me, this kind of DJing is actually a little bit different and easier than the open format DJing, because now I'm on CDJs, now I'm on sticks, and there's a little more accuracy with like the numbers because it's all completely digital.
What
even though
sticks?
Serato, USB sticks.
Oh,
as
USB
opposed
sticks.
to
Gotcha.
a laptop. Sorry,
Gotcha.
Let me make that clear.
Yeah,
When I'm using USB sticks, I'm not using turntables, which
Right.
is what I actually usually do.
That's your preferred method.
Yeah, that's going to be a little less accurate, because the platter and the
latency
vinyl and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I use phase now, but there's still a little bit of whatever.
Yeah,
So
phase can also phase out, though. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, it can sometimes. So with the sticks, with the USB stick DJing, it's a little more accurate and there's different features that can like help with the DJing part. So it's not as rigorous. We're not doing as much beat juggling. We're not doing as much on the spot beat matching.
Let me ask you this. Can we play a clip of a performance that's online or something
Definitely. I would
that you
love to show
have?
you. Yeah.
Can we let's insert a clip of one of the recent performances?
Yeah, I'll give you maybe one from Japan.
There we go.
Good?
Let's do that. Japan is always hype over there. They're hype. They're hype as fuck over in Japan, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we had that type of energy that Japan has with hip hop, with fucking the pop culture, with K-pop and all that. All that Asian type of energy is just undeniable, bro.
It is.
It's fucking nuts. It's like we here in the States, we're kind of jaded.
Yeah.
Like, we're hyped when that crescendo builds and then that beat drops on the one and everybody's like, ah! And then 2 seconds later, everybody's checking their fucking phone.
Yeah.
It's like, but they don't do that in
Especially
Japan.
in LA.
Yeah, they don't do that in Japan. I went to Japan to go DJ way back, like 2010.
Yeah.
And this is when I was at Power. This is when I had a real drinking problem. Okay. And the whole time I was there, I was hammered out of my mind, bro. It was a horrible.
It's a blurry trip.
It was a horrible way to go in showmanship. It was horrible showmanship on my part, and I take full responsibility. But nonetheless, even in my shitty performances, those folks still were fucking hype. I mean, they were like hands in the air. I was just playing like songs. I wasn't even really mixing. I was just kind of playing track after track, and every track I played, they were just like hands on the stage bouncing up and down.
sick.
And I'm like, dude, I felt bad. I felt like they were expecting like a jump off mix performance. And I didn't give them that. And I felt really bad about it. And I was like, no wonder they never brought me back.
Bro, you brought the world some of the best jump off mixes though. And
Well,
people
me and Fuse.
still
Me and
talk
Fuse.
you and Fuse.
Yeah,
and people still talk to me about them. They're like, yo, no one did it like Sketch and Fuse. Like
a lot of work goes into those, man. Remember months of
you guys
pre-producing. It took like 2 months to make like a 30-minute mix.
yeah, no, it was next level.
Yeah, I miss those, man. And just as a side note, shout out to DJ Fuse, who has left the cruise show recently. He departed, and DJ Leslie is back.
Okay.
Right? So that's wonderful. And also Nico, who joined the show. Shout out to Nico, but I know for sure Fuse is on his way to bigger and greater things because he's in pursuit of his career.
So talented.
And he's a new father. He's going to be a new father.
Good, congrats.
So congrats to DJ Fuse. I'm trying to get him back on the show too. But yeah.
No, Japan. I was going to say
go
that.
ahead.
Look, we spent a couple nights in Japan before our shows. And so going out is exactly what you described. And it's refreshing to go to another country and see them rage and party and be like, okay, this is pumping me up even more for the show because you're looking at like the DJs and the crowd and it's an energy that's just insane.
And what trips me out, bro, is that Japanese folks and Korean folks, like I know some of them speak English, but the majority, I'm talking about in their country, right? Not the ones here, the ones that never even been here. When you go there and they don't speak any English, but they know every fucking word, it's mind-blowing to me how music can really bring people together in such a way that is just, it's unmatched.
Well, all right, so listen to this.
Go ahead.
This is kind of what we were talking about with the Latin music. And as I, make music and produce music, the biggest success I've had so far in music are Latin songs that are in Spanish.
What?
Right? And I might not even understand all the lyrics.
Right.
I had no part in writing the lyrical part.
But you
I helped
understand
write the
La
music
Pasión.
part. And yeah, bro, I got nominated for a Billboard Award for a song that's in Spanish that I helped do the music part.
Let's hear it.
Yeah,
Let's play it right now.
gabachas.
La
Here it
Bachas.
goes.
What does it mean?
Gabachas.
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 What is that?
I think they said it means white girls.
Oh,
I
beautiful.
I don't know.
Love white girls. Go ahead. Gabachas. Here we go.
Compramos las tachas y yo ni les entiendo quiere que le llegue, aún le mando una botella y no la quiere. Aún dice que tiene gusto y que no puede, me dice que le espere. Y llegando a la casa que la encuere, aún se pone de rodillas y qué bonitos ojos tiene.
Me contesta su gato aunque la tenga en cuatro. No usa nada barato ya.
So this track right here, I was blessed to be asked to be a part of. Shino, who's super talented, was leading the ship, and met him through Jay Silva. Was doing music with two artists, Joaquin Medina and Codiciado, massive artists out of Mexico. And we did a couple songs together. And this was one of the songs that hit the Billboard charts, got nominated for a Billboard
I remember
award.
when this happened, I sent you a mail, like, congratulations.
That was nuts.
Remember when I told you, bro? Remember years ago, I said, all you need is one, bro.
Right.
One track.
Right.
And get it onto those fucking charts.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And then it led to a song with Luis Eric Enriquez, who is a massive, massive artist. in
Look at
Mexico.
you.
So that was crazy.
You're
to
like
have
the
that
Latin
record.
lover now.
So that one came out. Thank you, Latin lover. I'm still learning my Spanish. I just got back from Mexico City.
Rico. Suave.
You know who I love? Luis Miguel.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he had a
you look
show.
like Luis Miguel. I was going to tell you that.
He lived a crazy life, and he's still alive. But I mean, it's just he had a show that I watched.
So, dude, but you're getting now. So you're saying the big Gabachas is your biggest song that you've put out, and it's Spanish, or that you've helped be part of, right?
Correct. Yep.
And
Yeah.
but you don't speak Spanish.
Correct.
You performed in Mexico City, or wherever
Mexico City, EDC.
Right. That's where I was born, Mexico City, by the way. I mean, what's the deal of getting into these different speaking language genres? And I mean, is there a level of trepidation and weariness because you don't speak the language, or is it you're just going off the feeling of the music? What is it?
For me, musically, it's going off the feel of the music. Luckily, like, I have so many friends, right, who have Latin blood.
Right.
So many of my closest friends have Latin blood.
Yeah.
Shout to Crazy Chris Films.
Yeah.
Julian R.
Me.
You. You know what I'm saying?
You have a lot of Mexicano friends, dude.
My boy, Tiny Hookah.
Tiny Hookah.
Yes, sir. And so I have a lot of that. Jay Silva spent a lot of time, with me in the studio.
Yeah, living with you.
Yeah, living
I
with
mean,
me.
you guys were roommates for.
And so, his circle. And so I definitely have had that influence. So I can feel the passion and
La
musically-
pasión.
Yeah.
Say it.
La pasión.
La pasión.
Pasión.
La
I feel
pasión.
it. I do feel it.
Yeah.
And so it definitely influences. I mean, I have how do I explain my musical contributions? It's kind of like a certain kind of feel and sound anyway.
Yeah.
So with this dance music fusion with the corrido, Spanish
Corridos,
music,
yeah.
I just bring the Spanish part, the little parts that I do. Like, they'll ask me to jump in for this or jump in for that, or help with a little melody, or help with whatever it might be, sounds and stuff like that. But I kind of have my flavor, but also, like, I understand what's going to fit
Right.
for them.
Now, this brings me to my next part of this conversation, is your type of style, which is very specific. It's very progressive and almost trance-like, high energy. You're very you speak with your arms when you play tracks for me
Totally.
in the car. You're very you do a lot of the pointing where the one's gonna hit,
Yep.
and then you build and a lot of the hand movements, and I do the same thing. Let's play one of your tracks. Your most recent, is it maybe a Fellsmere track, or what track do you want to hit? This is not Topanga Hills Mafia. This is Splyce.
Yes.
What track can we hit? Just to give them an example of your style.
This is a cover for the Bon Jovi banger, You Give Love a Bad Name.
That's right. Bon
And
Jovi's big again right
Man,
now.
this one I'm so proud of because the synths are like, they're massive.
Yeah.
Everything is in its place. The bass line is this growly, strong bass line that's just driving the track.
Yeah.
And then you have vocals re-singing,
Who re-sang them?
It's has to be an unlisted artist.
Really?
He's super talented.
How do you find these people?
Different friends of friends that like, it's funny because the behind the scenes of music is like, you can get artists to be collabs on a track. You can get an artist to be a feature on a track. You can get an artist to be an unlisted on the track. And the way I go about it is usually very loose with like whatever fits, because sometimes you'll have a singer that like this song might not fit their brand, but they're more than happy to sing it and be the performer on the song. And they'll get like the back end of it, but it's not like an out in the open,
Right.
kind of situation.
It's not like they're being promoted as the feature.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just they're on it.
Right. They're on it. Their voice could be perfect for it. It's just a different brand. They may sing ballads, but then you want them on a high energy EDM song, and they don't necessarily want that on their profile.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're still great at this kind of thing.
It's kind of like ghostwriting, that they're ghost featuring in a sense.
In a way, it's like a work for hire situation or something like that.
Are some of these features like re-singing the covers? Are they famous?
It's pretty popular. Like
really?
This guy, he has music with some really big artists.
Wow. And we've heard him on other tracks with big artists?
Yeah.
Like, can you give us
Martin Garrix.
Wow.
Armin van Buren.
Wow.
Steve Aoki.
Damn, dog. That's dope.
It's
all
wild.
right, so let's play this track right now. Let's play it's called
You Give Love
a Bad Name.
Angel smile is what you sell. You promised me heaven, then put me through hell. Chains of love got a hold on me. When passion's a prison, you can't break free. Oh, you're a loaded gun. Oh, there's nowhere to run. No one can save me. The damage is
Splyce. Splyce.
Let me ask you this on this track. How long does it take you from start to finish to do a cover remix like this Bon Jovi record?
Start to finish was about a month, maybe 5 weeks. And part of it, honestly, is waiting on the vocals because the vocals are recorded in a different state and they're sent in. And if there's any revisions, then the studio has to be booked out for that artist to go back in and do the revisions. So really for me, production-wise, most of the production was done in the first couple weeks. Like it never finishes how it starts. Obviously, there's many versions, but you'll start with like a skeleton. That's what I always call it. I start with a skeleton. It's usually enough to write to. So in this case, we already know the words, so it's not hard to write to because the words are already there for you. But you have the skeleton, and then I'll send that off so the artist has something to work with, and then I get busy on the production part. So what they end up hearing later is a completely different thing than what they are given in the very beginning. And then it's just going through the phases of like, you make the next version and you realize that the synths need more, or the bass line needs another layer, or it's not moving fast enough, or you want to speed the tempo up a little, whatever it may be, changes you want to make. And then over the course of a couple weeks and a couple more sessions, you do car tests and headphone tests and AirPod tests, all that kind of stuff, adjust accordingly. And then once the vocals come in, then you can place them. And in this case, I had like a placeholder with the actual Bon Jovi vocals, which I should make an edit. Shout out to Michael basically said that I should make an edit for myself with the Bon Jovi, even though I can't release it. He's like, at least you'll have one to play. But
yeah, now we can play a clip here. You know what I mean? It's like an underground white label type of like, you know what I'm saying? Underground. It's not going to come out.
Actually, like make that edit because that was a really good idea. But once you get the actual vocals that I'm going to use, vocal production is its own thing. You work with vocals a lot, more than probably anyone I know.
Voiceover,
so
mainly.
But you understand vocal production is insane.
It's a rigorous process.
So we got doubles, we got harmonies, we have our ad-libs, we have our lead vocal. Now we're stacking stuff and putting the delays and reverbs and making it sound how we want, and then have it fit in the track naturally, and then export it, and then listen again, and then make final changes.
Wow.
That's the one track.
And that all goes into just one single remix cover.
One song, and that's not even including the cover artwork. That's not including any promotion, which is another conversation. Social media, like, ooh.
Who does all that for you? Is it you, or do you have somebody doing that?
Oh, no, it's all me with, I would say, the heaviest influence from the genius Crazy Chris Films. And Julian R. always like jumps in and pitches in ideas, very creative guy. But I mean, it's still ultimately up to me. I love their ideas. I don't always take them, but I love their ideas. They're so creative. My dad also is so creative. I mean, even if
he
he's
contributes?
Yeah, I mean, his ideas, he's had some of the best ideas.
Steve, right?
Steve, good memory, yeah. I wish I listened to him more often because there were so many times over the last 20 years that he would give me ideas and I would say, no, that's a bad idea. I shouldn't do that, whatever it may be. You know, the first idea I had was get rid of the DJ. Just be Splyce. No one does that. No, and then pretty soon everyone started doing it and I was like, damn it.
You were right, Dad.
Another thing he said is, you should get a billboard. Why don't you get a billboard? And I was like, cringed out. I can't get a billboard and I can't be the guy that goes and it's just weird to, but then
everybody's got a
everyone
billboard.
started doing it. And I was
man.
like, Jesus.
Even people who really shouldn't have a billboard had billboards.
Man.
You know, not saying that they didn't.
I felt that way about me. I was like, why? You know, it just feels so.
It
not
feels
natural
very
and weird,
selfish and very narcissistic.
It does,
but at the same time, if you think about it, Instagram is a mobile billboard.
It is
on your phone. It's basically the way we use Instagram as a marketing tool. We know the same people are going to see our posts, but then a portion of non-followers may see it from the search, the explore feature, right, where it just kind of comes up, or it just shows up in someone's stream that it's not even following you. That's what I'm saying. That's, to me, it's like, that's what a billboard is,
right?
But it's on this massive scale on a street and it doesn't move. But I mean, dude, billboards are where it's at, man. And I know for sure, because you're such a photogenic, telegenic guy.
Thank you.
You look good on camera. You have a good face, you know? Why not do it? Even if it didn't even have your face, it just had the name.
Right.
So what did you tell Steve, Papa Splyce?
I mean, like, I was just like, no one does that, and it felt too weird to do it, and I just couldn't get behind it at the time. And I just think a lot of things in this industry, you either have to have the strength and courage to just go for it and do it and not care what people think.
Yep.
And I think I cared too much about what people thought. And as you get older, you start to realize, like, they fall off, and at some point it doesn't really matter. Like, what they say doesn't matter, but you have to go through caring, and then realizing that it doesn't really matter, and they all fall off. Like, it's a weird thing because once people get married, once they have kids, and once they switch careers, it doesn't. They're in their own little, like, bubble. They're in their own world. Yeah. And the guy that had the billboard 6 years ago, like, if it still bothers them, that's what someone says is an issue, not an ish me.
Yes,
it's an issue.
It's an issue. I get it. Fuck, that's genius.
Shout out to Neil. I heard that from Neil, photographer I did an event with. And that was the best.
It's
an
not
issue.
An ish me. It's an issue. Yeah. If you got an issue, here's a tissue. And not the happy tissues either.
Yeah.
God damn, that's genius.
That's genius.
I mean, that should be a song in itself.
Yep.
Bro, well, I mean, I'll agree with Neil and I'll agree with Steve. You should get a billboard, even if it's for Topanga Hills Mafia billboard. Did you guys do? You've done that already.
Crazy Chris is not afraid to get billboards because we've probably had like 20 so far.
I think I saw one.
That's cool.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's what I like about collaborating with people like him. Like, he's like, yo, we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Period.
And I'm like, damn, I like that confidence. I like that go-getter attitude.
Yeah, Chris doesn't give a fuck.
No,
dude.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
He really doesn't.
And that's cool. I mean, we need that. I almost like feel like that's a good combo because I'm like the overthinker.
Same.
And can be insecure. And he's like, we're doing it.
Yeah, it's already out. What are you talking about?
It's up.
It's up.
Let's go take a picture
you
under
passed it on the way here.
I'm like, whoa, that's wild. And then you get the feedback. People on Instagram are like, that's crazy. You have a huge billboard. And I'm like, no, it's an average size billboard. You know?
It's an advertisement. It's what people do to promote their products.
Right.
That's what you do. And I guess because, we're DJs, we come from a DJing background, having a billboard about your DJing couldn't seem a little narcissistic.
Totally.
But again, if you're on Scam Artists or you're a fucking resident DJ in Vegas, you're getting a billboard. You have to have it.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, people have to see it. So when they're driving into MGM Grand or whatever, they know Splyce or whatever DJ is performing there that night. That to me is like, it's mandatory. It just comes with the territory of this DJing thing. And now obviously being in a group, would you say it's an EDM group or what genre would you place Topanga Hills Mafia? What kind of genre would we reference?
Okay. Well, I mean, heavily EDM, but not entirely EDM.
Right.
So yes, I mean, we have like happy hardcore songs. We have hardstyle songs. We have Latin songs, like I said, and Indian songs. pop records.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority are EDM. It's kind of under that big umbrella category of EDM.
That's a broad statement. EDM is very broad. It
is
doesn't
so
always
broad
mean
now.
128 either.
No.
It could be a down tempo EDM, but that's also called down tempo.
Yep.
Right. It's the 128.4 on the floor is EDM.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Electronic dance music.
You have so many subgenres of like future house and tech house and progressive house and, you know.
There's all kinds of shit out there now, bro.
Yeah.
The genres are crisscrossing like none other, man. It's crazy. I was gonna ask you about that. Hold on, let me think here. There was another question I had in regards to Chris and the Topanga Hills Mafia thing. Hold on real quick. I was just about to get there and then I lost it.
Bomb hit.
Oh, this is what I was going to ask you. Topanga Hills Mafia, with all the different genres and the Spanish, and then, you know, did you do Japanese stuff too as well? Okay, so you did
we
that.
have done Japanese songs.
Now,
yes.
What about, and K-pop? Have you gone K-pop at all?
I've done K-pop, but not with Topanga Hills.
Okay, see now.
I went to Korea.
South Korea.
South Korea. Right. I just got back from South Korea. That's a story for you.
Should I tell you the story? Let's get into it, but then I want to ask the question about...
Oh, God. All right, ask the question, then I'll tell you about Korea. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. The question is, Topanga Hills Mafia, maybe on the same direction that 9 Inch Nails went, Trent Reznor, right, who's no longer doing the 9 Inch Nails thing. I mean, he might again, whatever. But he's now fully ensconced in the scoring of movies.
Right.
Topanga Hills Mafia moving into the scoring of movies. Would you ever consider doing something like that? Because there's a lot of money in that, bro.
Absolutely.
And it's not having to perform live. It's
absolutely.
And you even, you get you own that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you been approached?
Yes. With Topanga Hills Mafia, yes. And with other people, yes. I mean, right. I'm open to it, definitely. Never been approached right off the bat for movies, but I've been approached a lot more about sync. So
what's
definitely
that?
sync is getting your music in TV, movies, commercials, but it's not necessarily scoring.
Right.
It's more like you make, whether it's a pop song or an EDM song or a dubstep song or trap song.
I know what you're talking about. I have a perfect example. When you're watching that show Selling Sunset on Netflix, right? Or The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives on Hulu. They play like stock pop music.
That's it.
It's like stock images that you'd find online for catalogs by models that are in scrubs or whatever you're selling. But there's also stock music that you produce for that specific whoopty bam, right?
Absolutely.
I could totally see you doing that, man. Even just individually, not just Topanga Hills Mafia, but because of the different languages that all of you have obtained over the course of your new career together. I feel like scoring would be like the next best move, even if it was just not necessarily quote unquote scoring, but doing that stock made music.
Yeah.
Even if it's for like Hallmark movies, there's a fucking buco bucks.
There is.
Buco.
There is.
It's
there
crazy.
Is.
Okay, tell me about the Korea story.
There is.
South Korea. Here we go.
Okay, so my friends, some of the most talented producers I know are named A and G. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Arturo and Gabriel from Mexico. I met them at EDC a couple of years ago through Jay Silva. And we've built a really great relationship. They come work out of my recording studio quite a bit. Like I said, I am very good friends with them, but I'm also a big fan of them. So I can separate the two and still be a really big fan of them and also like them as people. And they were asked to go DJ in Thailand, and they asked me if I wanted to join. And, more so just hang out. They said, we're going to Thailand, we're going to Korea. And I said, I'd love to, And then they asked if I'd be open to DJing in Thailand as well, which I had been to Thailand but never DJ'd.
Wow.
So I did like a 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. slot. I think they went on 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. at this massive club, World House Pattaya. Amazing club. So much fun. And it was a really special thing to be asked. Like, it was super cool because I was already going on the trip. And then getting to perform in Thailand, which I had never played before, was so sick. And the club was just massive with everything.
Was it Bangkok? Or where did you?
This was in Pattaya.
Pattaya.
I've been to Bangkok. I'd never been to Pattaya. So we went to Pattaya and I had mango sticky rice every day, if not once, then twice a day.
Do they have like McDonald's and shit out
They
there?
have it, but we didn't eat there. I don't think. I'm trying to remember. We didn't eat there. We definitely tried so much of the Thai cuisine from Michelin restaurants.
Were you tied out? You were tied out,
tied up. They got everything. It was a good time.
Damn.
We went for this like world famous fireworks show. So like the city was just the busiest it ever gets all year long. Is this like world famous fireworks show over the water where a bunch of countries come out and they all have their own like fireworks show.
Wow.
It was insane.
And that's Thailand, but then that takes you to Korea.
So we did the shows, and then we go to Korea, and the Korea trip was to set up sessions for K-pop and just explore the city of Korea. And we did do an amazing K-pop session, which was really cool and really interesting. And I would have to tell you about how different producing K-pop is, because it was a whole world of difference, and it's a twists your brain in a lot of different ways that you're just not used to when it comes to like producing music. It's wild. But this is what was crazy about that trip. We had an amazing session. We went for the best dinner of the whole entire trip, where we were eating the best Korean barbecue. And it was so special because we go to this butcher place, right? Like I'm talking like a Costco sized place or bigger, of like maybe 1,000 vendors, right? And you pick one and they cut the meat for you right there. And we got like the world's best meat. We spent,
like Wagyu or really?
Like tons. I'm going to have to send you a clip.
Damn.
That, I'll send you a clip.
Good.
So we have this amazing dinner. Afterwards, we grab an Uber to head back after dinner, and a friend of mine texts me and he goes, "Hey man, I don't know if you're in Korea right now, but if you are, the president of South Korea just declared martial law. And the military is taking over the country, and they're going to close the airports, and they're not going to let anyone in or out of the country. And if you can leave now, you got to go, but they're closing all the roads. They're closing the airport."
You were there for that, bro?
And I was like, bro,
I remember that
me.
on the news, breaking news. I remember seeing it happen.
The president of South Korea declares martial law.
It was right around the election.
Yeah.
Right before the election.
Yes.
Like literally right before our election here.
Oh my goodness,
God.
bro.
So how did it unveil?
My anxiety levels have probably never been higher. We get back to our place, and I was with the A&G guys, and I was a wreck. And like, thank goodness they were there, because they really kept it cool. They were like just cool as a cucumber, and they were like checking Twitter, X, and they're seeing, they weren't like telling me what they were seeing, but they're seeing tanks hitting the streets, and they're seeing people protesting, and they're seeing everything happening.
No violence broke out though, right?
I don't think so.
I didn't see any of that on there. I saw the tanks though, and I saw like the sea of fucking cops and shit. It was just like, I was like, what's happening? You were there.
My brain just started going to like,
you were panicking, right?
Yeah, I was in panic mode. I was like, okay, so here's the thing. Like, I don't know if I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know why this was happening. I didn't know if they were going to like, if
there was going to be a coup or some crazy shit.
And I was like, here we are in this place, and it was just the scariest thing. And
didn't last long though.
It didn't.
Thank God.
I guess the parliament went in at like 2-3 in the morning and voted. It was like 194 to 0.
They overturned
We're
that
not
shit.
doing this. Military, you guys go home. We're not doing this. And like by the morning, military had packed up and went home, and it was like, I went and woke up and had like a little iced Americano. My heart was racing, and I was looking over my shoulder. No, I have a really cool place that I tagged on Instagram. They were so sweet to me. They were the nicest people. They took care of me every day that I was there. They gave me like free, like they had pastries and stuff.
Damn,
so that was
you went out there celebrity status.
No, it was so sweet of them. I was like, you guys are so cool, and they took care of me. But yeah, I was still looking over my shoulder that next day, like, what is happening? And we stayed for a couple more days.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it was back.
It
to
all
LA.
subsided. Everything went back to normal. That's dope that they got in there in the middle of the night and we're like, we're not doing this shit.
Yeah, that was when democracy worked.
Yes.
The voting system worked, because if the president had his way, it would have been, we're taking over.
It would have been riots in the street. If that would have happened here, which it kind of did, January 6th, it's never, what did Bill Maher say? Our country doesn't react. We overreact to every fucking thing.
Right.
Everything is an overreach, an overcorrection, and over this. Nobody's just like, cool.
Right.
It's never neutral. I don't agree with you, but cool. It's never that. It's just all out fucking war. Not physical, but just battle of politics and bureaucracy. It's fucking bullshit. But out there, it came to a conclusion real quick. And how fast did you get back home after? You stayed a couple of days?
We stayed a couple of days, and then it was the flight from South Korea right back to LA. Landed at LAX, and then Global entry is the
See how
fastest
much
thing.
time has passed since we last saw each other, bro?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, Splyce is on such a tear. I don't want to like try to pull him away from his you're on a roll. But I was like, I got to get him back in here because there's so much to talk about, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy to be back, but it's at the same time, it always feels like in this industry, it feels like time's running out. It feels like you got to do more, always do more. And it's like when you make music and you DJ and I'm running a recording studio and I'm trying to keep up with social media and I'm trying to spend time with friends and family and dating, all the stuff that the world has
outside of
hanging
your
out
work.
with friends too. It's trying to balance staying healthy and eating healthy and exercising, all these things that we have.
It's a lot, bro.
It just feels like do more.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, what do you do? What does Splyce do to decompress from all that stuff, all the stuff that you just mentioned? Because you're always being pulled in different, like 8 different directions at any given time of any given day. But like today, when I spoke to you before we did this podcast, I was trying to coordinate with you, like, because I'm waiting on Sony Music to send me some projects. They're running behind. So they're like, it's not going to be till early evening. Your time. Sorry about the delay. And I'm like, great, Splyce, let's do this. Let's get together now because I got to get back home to edit.
Right.
But in that moment, I heard you go, today's an off day for me. I'm just going to hit the elliptical, make my own coffee, and then I'll head out to you. Is that essentially your little me time? Is that it? That's the only slice of me time that you have?
Pretty much.
Really?
Yes, pretty much it is. I bought myself a scooter, which brings me so much joy and happiness, bro. I don't know why. It's just such a...
What kind of scooter do you have?
It's like one of those...
Is it a trike?
It's
the
like
3
a
wheels?
bird. No, it's like a bird scooter. It goes like between 20, 25 miles an hour.
Oh, you're talking about like those razors, like the type of scooter, right?
Yeah,
But it's electric.
Yeah, it's electric.
And
that literally brings me so much joy and peace and happiness. And it's...
Where do you ride?
I'll ride around my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'll ride. I want to go ride. Like the way this idea happened. Well, originally, one of my favorite places on earth is Maui in Hawaii.
Right.
It's Maui, Hawaii. But basically, like Julian R. and I will go to Maui and we'll rent real scooters, not bird scooters, like real scooters.
Yeah,
We'll rent
Vespas.
Vespas.
Yeah.
And we put on helmets and we ride around.
I
and
saw you
it's
doing that.
The best. Like it's one of the things in life that makes me so happy. And then we came back to LA and one day we went and got scooters and we went to the beach, right? And we rode and I had like little earphones or whatever in and I listened to music and California has these like coast kind of like paths.
Oh, the bike paths. On
paths.
Venice Beach, Venice Boardwalk style.
It was like the best, right?
Right.
So
I've done that.
I felt like one of the best feelings I've ever felt.
Makes you feel like a kid.
Euphoric. I got to feel like that.
Yeah.
Like it felt like weightless. It felt like there was nothing else in the world but like the music and just I can buy one. I was like, yo, I'm an adult now. Like I can buy a scooter. Like no one says I can't.
Right. You don't have to ask permission.
Yeah, that's when I was like, okay.
Where did you buy it from?
Amazon.
Really?
Like, I did research. I watched YouTube videos and I read all the reviews and I looked at all the pictures and I saw the different speeds and the size of the batteries and like everything, the brake power, all this weird stuff.
You're like a
right?
scooter aficionado
Yeah, so
now.
I'm sitting there like not, and that was it. The scooter showed up and I built it. Like I was so excited like a little kid.
Yeah.
And then, so this scooter is like one of those weird things where like I used it the other day to go to CVS and there's a little app and you can like lock it on the app. And so I'll just hop on the scooter and just roll out. And
what do you mean lock it on the app? Your destination?
Once I get there and park it, so no one like gets on it and rides away.
Oh,
you have to like go on the app and just hit like, lock.
Yeah. That's dope.
And
dude.
so I love that little. And then I bought I bought a slushy machine. There's a there's a Ninja. It's called the Ninja Slushy, right?
Oh shit! I have a Ninja air fryer.
Dope, bro. Yeah, Ninja.
Yeah.
I love this slushy machine. It was hard for me to get because it was. It sounds like a commercial right now, but it was like kept being sold out everywhere.
Everybody wants a slushy machine. Huh?
Sold out everywhere on the Amazons and Best Buys and Target website, everywhere. And finally, someone like on YouTube said the best way to do it is sign up on their website for the list that when it comes out, it'll email you. And it took me like 3 emails to come into me because I'd go to the website and it was already sold out by the time I got. So I ended up getting it. And so like sometimes I will like start this little machine and like it takes like, I don't know, 20 minutes to 45 minutes or an hour depending on what you're doing and like have little slushies going. in the background. So like I'll take a break from the studio and like run downstairs and fill up my cup with like this little slushie of whatever I made. And it's like these little things make me so happy.
They bring you joy, bro.
Yeah,
You know
dude,
what?
like-
So I got to point out though, bro, how innocent
Really?
those two things are, bro. The scooter and a slushy machine. Instead of you saying like, oh, you know, I like to go to the strip club, or you know, I want to go. You don't drink, you don't do drugs. You know what I mean? Like you're pretty straight arrow when it comes to the party favor stuff. You've never been that type of guy. You're not a betting guy on sports. You know what I mean? You don't go overboard with like shopping sprees and shit. But the two things are seriously some of the most innocent like joys I've
You know
heard.
what's crazy? Like in Hawaii, we'll take the scooter to like a shaved ice place, which is like they go hand in hand with like what I'm doing here in LA. I'm trying to like recreate the Hawaii experience, which I want to go live in Hawaii. Like I could easily see myself
Really?
giving it like a year, not like maybe forever, but I would love to try living
Maui?
in Hawaii. Yeah, probably Maui for like a year. I would love it. I can like
You can see
smell
it.
the air already. I can already imagine where I'm going to go get my poke bowl
Right.
and what flavor I'm going to get, and I'm going to sit outside on the bench.
Where
and
you're
eat
going to
it.
ride your scooter.
Yeah,
Right.
where I'm going to ride the scooter and the wind in your hair. It's just it's the best feeling.
Dude, I mean, if you moved out there, I'd have to come visit
That would be
you.
so epic.
I've been to Maui, I think once when Jason and Ryan got married, way back when. I remember they had these drinks. They still have them. They're called lava flows.
Yeah.
And this is when I used to drink, but the lava flows are fucking amazing. They're kind of like a slushy, like milkshake type of alcoholic beverage. But my God, I had never tasted something so delicious in all my 47 years. At the time, I was in my 20s. But man,
Yeah.
I could see you doing that. I could see. Now there is that you know.
Island fever.
Yes.
Yeah, like everyone says. But I don't know, man. Like, I
Do
mean,
you think you'd get island fever and become like one of the island boys? You know the island boys?
Yeah, the
Island boy.
You're going to get tattoos on your face and shit?
Oh, I'm a
You get a
island
grill?
boy.
maybe. New me.
Grow out like dreadlocks and
The
shit
new
that
me.
stick straight out?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm an island
Damn, man.
boy.
Would you? No, I know you would never do that. But still, I mean,
I'd
the
probably be out in
island.
nature more. You know what's funny is like every time we go to Maui, it's like we're out on beaches that end up being like private beaches that are so gorgeous and hiking.
Yeah.
Waterfalls
You'd
and
be on the
eating fresh
boats.
fruit. Like I've eaten fresh fruit that like mangoes and just fruit that's like, you know, you can pick it off the tree.
Yeah.
And just with your
Right
hands.
there,
It's
pure.
Just, it's like the freshest, you know, they have like some of the world's best pineapple. Yeah.
I think that might have to happen soon, man.
Yeah.
Even if you just bought a place out there and you just went and visited it. You know what I mean?
we looked at real estate, you know.
Yeah, plus you got Julian R. Can't he weigh in here? What will Julian R. have
He'd
to
be
say about it?
down
Because
too.
he does real estate.
He would be down too because, you know, that'd be a good move for us.
Even if it was just a condo or
Yeah,
something. It doesn't
I'm
have to
good.
be a house,
Yep.
you know, because you already spent so much money on the house that you live at now with the studios built in from scratch.
Yeah.
You can't leave that place for too long.
That's the
I mean, I
thing.
could house sit for you.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah, you hold it down.
Yeah, and then you could check in on me on your cameras, and I'm
Yeah.
walking around naked and shit. And you're like, "What the fuck, bro? I told you not to sleep in my bed."
Yeah.
I'm
Hey.
an island boy.
Yeah.
Man, all right. Well, let's switch topics here because I'm curious. I mean, we've covered quite a bit, bro, and thank you so much for sharing all the insight
I
about
love spending
Topanga
time with
Hills
you.
Mafia. Same, bro. It's. I love you, man. You're such a good dude.
Love
and
you.
You've always been a good dude to me, and
I try.
you know, I missed you and shit. But I was like, it'll be greater later. It'll be greater later, and I know eventually he'll come back home to the States, and. You know, because you were in all parts of the world. Every
Yeah.
time I tuned into your IG, I'm like, where is he at now? Oh, he's back in Egypt. Okay, well, I guess he can't do the podcast. Oh, now he's in Maui. Okay, great. Now he's in Korea. I'm like, dude, this guy travels more than the president.
Oh man, we did a lot of traveling, which was really fun, really exciting. It's the travel part's harder than people think because this is one thing that I wanted to say. Like I got sick, you know, like I got back from Mexico City and my stomach felt like an
Oh, yeah, let's
elephant
hear the
was-
story.
It just felt like an elephant was like stepping on my stomach. And, you know, like I have an appointment with the doctor and immediately it's like they put you on antibiotics and it's just, you know, maybe I ate contaminated food or something.
Well, you
happened.
got Montezuma's revenge for
Yeah,
sure.
it was, and a big percent of people that go to Mexico get this. And I was careful and we ate at great places. It's just
Right.
sometimes, you know.
Yeah, but if there's water in any of that food,
There's water,
There's
and there's ice and all
any
that
type
stuff.
of anything. You get a drop of that shit.
Yeah.
It's over.
And I got loose with like, you know, you go and have, you know, drinks that have ice in it and the food and it is what it is.
It is what, but then on your way back from Mexico when you drove, right?
No, we flew.
You flew, but then you were driving home from, remember the cop story. Tell us that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
please.
So this was me getting pulled over like the next day. I think I was like really sick and throwing up and thought maybe I'll feel better if I throw up. I don't know if I have something in my stomach that's, got to go. And my eyes are bloodshot and
You look fucking high.
get in the
probably.
car and there I pull out and made a right and turn into the supermarket parking lot. I don't know, is it my old sounding supermarket or is it a grocery store?
Whatever,
I don't know which one
supermarket,
it is. I don't
grocery
remember.
store, Vons, whatever,
Yeah, so-
Vallartas.
And there it is. There I get pulled over for, I didn't stop hard enough at the stoplight. And no, I said, listen, my eyes are like still teary from throwing up, and I was like, man, I just got back from Mexico City.
and the
I was
cop's like,
throwing
what's up with you? Yeah,
and
you
he
rolled
was
past the
like,
stop sign.
Nothing to
sir.
drink tonight? No, nothing to drink tonight. He goes, you still have to stop. I said, I know, you're right, I do. And then do me a favor, follow my finger, follow his finger. And he goes, all right, cool, be back. And he goes, all right, brother, just do me a favor,
Stop.
make sure you stop. Did you see me? And I said, no. He goes, that's even worse.
Well, I was throwing up,
I was
officer.
like, man, I literally, I was trying to get electrolytes. Like I needed Pedialyte,
Right.
or Gatorade. Like that's all I was trying to get.
it's like make way, make way. I'm in emergency
This was
here.
and
Too
it
bad we
really
can't
was.
have our own little sirens to put on our
That'd
own
be so
car.
cool.
It's like a blue siren. That means there's something happening of urgency. He's not just running past the stop sign because he's inebriated or something. He's either got to take a dump or he's throwing up.
Yeah, but
But-
shout out to the law
cop.
enforcement that sometimes do make an exception, and they don't always have to enforce a ticket when a situation like this is 100% valid. And he was super sweet and super cool for being considerate, because it was really, I needed that Gatorade in my system sooner than later.
Nothing like working that white privilege.
Nah. I was sick, bro. If you'd seen me
I know.
9 minutes before that, you would have been like, this guy,
That shit's hilarious, though, bro. But you feel better now. Everything's good, right? How long did it take you to recover from the Montezumas?
That was like 2 to 3 days, but the medicine works really fast.
Yeah.
And then I got
It's a whole thing, huh? Yeah. All right, let's get into this. We're already at an hour, bro.
Oh, yeah?
This is flying by fast, man. But there's another, what else I want to talk to you about? Oh, this is an interesting story. So right before, at the top of the podcast, I shouted out Alfred's, the coffee place.
Yeah.
Right down the street here on Riverside Drive in beautiful Burbank.
That's what we're sipping on.
We're sipping on some Alfred's. You got the matcha.
I got
You barely even drank
lavender.
yours. I'm already done.
Yeah. I'm scared about the caffeine because I already had a double espresso this morning on my way to you.
Yeah. I was like, man, are you sure? I was going to tell you, are you sure you want to drink that? But then I'm like, I know that feeling when you're at home and you have your own machine. You're like, especially an espresso. I'm like, hey man, I'm still going to go to Alfred's and I'm going to make him go with me.
Right.
I don't care. But what was crazy to me is I'm telling you this, Splyce, and I'm like, yeah, Alfred's, and you're all, oh, Alfred's a coffee place. Yeah, I know the owner. I'm all the owner, and you're all Josh, what's his name?
Akhtarzad.
Again?
Josh Akhtarzad.
Josh Akhtarzad. And you went to high school with the owner and founder of Alfred's Coffee.
Yeah, which is crazy because I went to a high school with 54 kids in my graduating class, and he was one of them. Brilliant, smart. And yeah, obviously we all went off to college and we all did our, lived our lives and did our thing. And I remember someone said, yo, you've heard of Alfred's Coffee, right? I said, yeah. They were like, oh, that's Josh's spot. Like that, Josh Akhtarzad from high school? Yeah, he owns all those spots. And I was like, good for him. And,
Do you talk to him still?
I don't see him all that often. I mean, I think I ran into him. He had a Melrose location.
Do you follow him on IG?
No, I should.
Man, we should.
That's the thing
follow
about high school. You just like disconnect from so many of those people, and like I'll hear like the different stories about who's up to what here and there. But yeah, in his case,
he was successful, and he created. Now, for those that aren't in California and Southern California that don't know what Alfred's is, it's like equivalent to like what a Starbucks is, but to me, I think it's even better, to be honest. And what did we say when we were on our way over there? I said, to me, it's like a lot of celebrities go there.
Right.
A lot of celebrities go to Starbucks, but Starbucks is like such a it's like Coca-Cola. It's like on that level of, it's like a worldwide franchise. Alfred's is still small,
right,
as of right now, but it is like the Nobu sushi of coffee, because all celebrities in the Burbank, Toluca Lake area, they all gather either at Priscilla's Coffee and or Alfred's now, which just opened up down the street. And to find out that you are in direct, like you went to class with the Josh, and what did you say about taking the SATs?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to say too much of his personal information, but he crushed it on the SATs.
I mean, this is in high school. I think you could
he
talk about
crushed
it.
it. I just remember the rumor was something that he scored nearly a damn perfect SAT score.
Which he went over. You said the average SAT good score is...
Well, I don't know. I'm saying, but his was like, I mean, it was like if at that time the top was like a 1600, his was like maybe got one question wrong, and it was like damn near a perfect score.
Wow.
I remember just the rumor was it was like a genius score.
Damn, dude. That shit's crazy, man. I don't know.
I mean, I think he went to Yale, and obviously, on to this
new
successful
endeavor.
coffee chain.
Yeah, I mean,
that we're enjoying today. I went with the lavender matcha
which is
iced.
green. It should be purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be purple in there, man.
It's delicious.
It's lavender, which is matcha is like a tea but caffeinated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I can't get into tea, bro.
This is just a different, refreshing.
Is it
light-
healthy? It looks healthy.
Healthy.
Yeah.
I did oat milk. I can't do dairy.
Me neither.
Someone told me oat milk's nothing but all sugar. So I was like, well,
Yeah, but it's natural sugar, isn't it?
I don't know.
I mean, natural sugar is like natural sugar. You get natural sugar in fruit.
Yeah, I love fruit.
And I don't really like fruit. I'll drink
I
fruit.
saw a TikTok, Instagram or something where a guy took watermelon. He took lemon, squeezed it into the watermelon, and he was just loving it. So I gotta
Really?
try- yeah. He's like, this changed everything. So I'm going to try that.
Wow, that sounds like very acidic.
The watermelon with the lemon on top.
Could be a new Starburst flavor. I'm not sure. Listen, Splyce, I'd be remiss if I didn't wish my man a happy birthday. He just celebrated his... Splyce, you just celebrated your birthday at the beginning of March 3rd, right?
3-3.
Oh, and that, which ironically is the same birth date as my former deceased dog, Lily.
Oh, Lily.
Who was born on March 3rd, 2006, right? And shout out to Cash, your dog who passed away. How long did he pass away?
A couple years now.
Couple years?
It's always hard.
How are you dealing with that? Because I didn't even get a chance to ask you that.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard. You lose a pet. It's like you have those memories and you just love them and the happiness they brought.
Yeah.
But,
how long did you have Cash for since he was a puppy?
Since he was 8 weeks old and
Until-
he lived to be about 14. So it was a good time.
Bro,
loved him.
Did you grieve over him, or because I know it's a touchy
It was
subject.
a bad last year. It was
Yeah.
a really bad last year for him, and he was just not himself anymore. And
Right.
they start to lose their hearing and lose their vision, and so it was a hard last year. And when they start to not be able to sleep,
Oh, I
and
know.
they're pacing in circles, and nothing calms them down. They just can't sleep.
What did he die of? Just old age?
I think it was like potentially brain cancer, and I remember the doctor saying we think there could be cancer, brain cancer, a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure, but either way, it's not going to get better.
Right.
It was at a really bad place where he couldn't sleep anymore. He couldn't, his brain couldn't shut off.
Because I'll be honest, man, you seem to have dealt with it way better than I did when I lost Lily, bro.
It was a slow last year.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was just saying, it fucked me up when Lily died. And she died of stage 4 cancer at 10 years old, almost 10 years old. And I remember
your dog died in your arms.
I remember that she
that's-
bit me in the face right before she died, and that I also feel remorse because of that, because she bit me and she was in like a sheet that I was holding her in, and I remember she rolled out of the sheet onto the couch, and there was blood coming out of my cheek, not a lot, but it was she had never bit me before, and I remember I went to the bathroom to wash it off, and when I came back, she was gone. And I felt so bad. I felt so much remorse. And I remember, because I was also drinking and partying heavily, that didn't help. So it weighed into my depression, and it felt like I lost a kid, man. And when you lost Cash, you seem to carry on without it being so apparent. Obviously, because you don't do all the partying that I did, and it didn't weigh in. That partying side effect can weigh into one's depression after losing a loved one and or pet. And for me, it was, and I had just lost Jerry a year before.
Yeah.
My mom was kind of AWOL at the time. She died a year later or 2 years later. There was a lot of death within that span of 3 years. And it really weighed on me. Again, drinking does not help. I know a lot of people go right to that, but it doesn't help in the long run. For you, how did you deal with Cash's death? And do you ever plan on getting another dog?
For me, it was a time when Jay Silva was staying with me. he was like a rock for me. We went through it together. We were in the room together when it happened. It was in the middle of the night.
Did he die at home or did you?
No. It was there. It was at a vet. But it was just really, really bad. And it was a decision that had to be made and it was really hard. And, we grieved together. And me and Jay spent a lot of time talking, reliving memories, thinking about the good times. We were sad. And then it was focusing the energy on music and putting it into some of the music that we made. And we did, some beautiful music together that's sort of like timeless music. It wasn't trend music. It was something that, it's extra special to me.
Right, because it was made in that time.
Yeah, it was like, all right, let's get in the studio and let's focus on this. And let's just try to make something beautiful.
Wow, man. Well,
Delicate is out. And that was from that time.
Do you find yourself crying over him at times?
I don't remember if I was crying. I'm just remembering the emotions. It was definitely, it tugs at your heart. And
there's a void.
It's very confusing. I will say that it's a very weird and confusing experience. If you've never been through that experience before, it was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It was so surreal. Yeah. And it's like it's a dark thing to talk about, but when you, how quickly life can go and how incredibly delicate and just the speed at which it was he was alive. Yeah. And then it was the vet looks at me and says, he's no longer with us. And it was that was a matter of 4 seconds.
Right. He didn't suffer though, right?
No, he didn't suffer. He had a bad last year of suffering and it was slowly getting worse and worse and worse. But in the moment, no, it's a very weird experience and it's very surreal. It doesn't feel real. And then,
let me tell you, man, it is a profound sense of loss.
It is.
It's such a deep, listen, I know that people are important and humans are important. I've lost a lot of humans in my life, but people do fucked up shit. There's nobody free of the innocence that dogs and cats and mostly all animals have. You know what I mean? They're so pure. They're like little furry people that are literally innocent of all bad things. I mean, they get mischievous. They have their little personalities and their little attitudes, but they don't do anything out of malice, out of pure, deliberate, I'm going to get back at him.
No.
Man, sometimes, I guess they do chew on your shoes when you leave and all that, but it's not... you know what I mean? It's not detrimental. It's just an annoyance or frustration. I told you not to pee in the house. But that profound sense of loss, I remember feeling so lost at sea, floating adrift after Lily died.
I know.
And I remember when my mom died, there was also this sense of my mom kind of chose this direction. She wanted to stop drinking. She didn't stop drinking. She died of liver failure. This was a self-induced type of thing over a span of many decades. But dogs don't choose to get cancer. My dog didn't choose to get cancer. Your dog didn't choose to get brain cancer. It just somehow hits them. Of all things, all living creatures, for some reason, it seems to go to the dogs and the cats who end up getting the shit end of the stick. And not only that, but fuck you, evolution. How dare you make it a dog or cat age every 7 years to our 1 year? What is this, Interstellar?
I know.
You know?
To think that our 1 day is a week of their life.
Yes.
Every 1 day of our life is a week for them. And he would love me every time I came home. He was excited to see me, and all he ever wanted was, to go on walks and ride in the car. And he had his food always there for him, and it was just spend time with me. One thing that takes me to is when you said they'll chew your stuff, right? Right. Things are things, and one thing that I've learned over the last year is the chase for more things is endless, but things don't end up making me any happier. What I mean by that is a fancier watch or a better pair of shoes or more jewelry or better brands. Those things don't help me in the way that relationships do. The friends and loved ones around me, they recommend restaurants. They suggest music they think I'm going to love. They tell me jokes. They are there for me when I need them. Things aren't. And that's one thing that I've had to really hone in on because it's been an endless chase to get bigger and better things. Oh, I can get a better watch and I can get this model and I can get this car and I can get this. And, you make more money to buy more things, but those things aren't the things that end up making my soul feel happy. The dog does.
Yes. All dogs do. Unconditional love, bro. There's a reason that their name spelled backwards is God. I don't care what you say, bro.
Yep.
There's a reason that mankind, human species, sync together with their dogs and even cats, but I would say there's a special bond between humans and dogs and also horses, because you bond to a horse, that horse will do whatever the fuck you want it to.
Man.
It will go places it would not normally go, because it trusts you and you trust it. And there's this type of love and bond that you cannot break, even beyond death. And I remember telling you, crying in your car one night when we were coming back from an event, and Lily had just passed, and I was crying my eyes out, man. And you were like, Sketch, you've done everything you can do. You got the tattoo of her.
Yeah, you did.
You got her ashes. You got her fucking
the necklace.
The necklace with the DNA, and I was like, Splyce, I would travel fucking light years to see her again.
Yeah, they don't deserve that.
Yeah, man. Well, she didn't deserve to go out the way she did, and even now I'm feeling my eyes welling up.
I understand,
but like, I miss that dog, bro. I miss her so much, and it was just her birthday, and I didn't post anything about it. But I'll tell you, I had a dream about her that night, the night of her birthday, the night before, or that night going into her birthday and your birthday. I dreamt of a dog and my mom, and we were at my grandmother's house in Granada Hills. I always have this reoccurring dream of that house that I grew up in my grandmother's house, and there was a dog running around in the front, but it wasn't Lily in the dream, meaning the dog form, the species even, it was like a Shih Tzu or something like that.
Right.
But in the dream, I called that dog Lily, and I woke up and I remember I was like, oh shit, I dreamt of Lily last night, but it wasn't Lily. It was another dog, but it was, and I was like, I looked at my watch, I'm like, oh shit, it's her birthday. I felt like she came to visit me.
Maybe
and
she
I don't
did.
know. It could just be my subconscious.
No,
I don't know. But it made me think of you too.
To us in a way, man. The world must.
The universe speaks to you in different ways. My mom comes to me in dreams, and I don't remember what we talk about, but I know she comes to visit every now and again. Especially,
that's for a reason.
Yeah, especially around certain times, like her birthday or my birthday or like Christmas. It's like she knows, and somehow she makes herself known. And I know that I'm dreaming in the dream. I know that it's not real, but like, every time I wake up, I'm like, man, thanks. I'm very grateful that I got that chance to spend however time operates in dreams. It feels like it lasts for at least a whole hour, like a podcast. But really, it's probably just a few seconds in reality. So
I saw on Instagram that made me happy. And sometimes I see some that are cringy. I see some that are triggering. But this one made me happy. It was a friend of mine celebrating his dog's birthday by cooking a steak. And it was such a beautiful, I saw he was like cooking the steak and he goes, happy birthday to his dog. And it was like, yeah, that's cool. Like the dog should be celebrated too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I know it's what's known as anthropomorphizing animals and things to be in like a human form. And I feel like dogs, even though they're not human, but there is a human quality to them.
Yeah.
Lily would be, when my friends would come over at the time when I was at Power, and Lily would stay with me when I was babysitting her for my mom, because she was the last dog my mom and I raised together. And since then, I have not gotten another dog, and I refuse to get another dog unless a dog chooses me.
Right.
Like somehow just wanders up to me. Well, then that's a different story. But I can't bring myself to get another dog because I can't picture getting connected so deeply, profoundly to another dog and then losing it all over again. And then even worse, if I go before the dog, that is I cannot even imagine that. I would have nightmares of things like that with Lily, where she would get left somewhere with some other people, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night panicking, going like, and then I'd look over and she's right there. Because I couldn't imagine anybody else taking care of Cash the way you took care of Cash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, dogs should be celebrated. Animals should be celebrated, especially the ones that are close to you. And you know what? I just appreciate you sharing that insight, because I've been meaning to ask you about Cash for a long time, but I know it's a very sensitive subject.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard. It's hard, obviously, and I'm not ready for another pet. Everyone asks the same, or you want another dog, and it's like,
not yet.
I was with you the night of the Kobe Bryant thing. We were celebrating your birthday.
That's right. The day before Kobe went, my birthday's on January 25th. He died on January 26th.
I was DJing. You came with me.
Yeah.
We drove through Pacific Palisades on the foggiest of days.
Yeah.
And it was probably 3:30, 4 a.m. and we get back to my crib, and you ended up going home. And that next morning was when the fog was still out and it was heavy. And I remember being out with you that night and woke up to the news of a helicopter crash, and then finding out hours later, I went back to sleep, woke up, and it was
It was that day, bro. And I remember that day vividly. It was a Sunday.
Yep.
And I had just turned 42.
Damn.
And he was 41. I'm a year older than him.
Man.
And I just was like, that loss was a different level for LA.
It was.
And people outside of LA do not understand it.
No.
They're like, how could you cry over a basketball player?
Dude, it was Superman.
He was Superman. He was our guy. Nipsey was our guy. That's our guy. You know what I mean? Fuck you. That's our guy.
Yep.
And if he dies, I don't need to know him. I know his work. I know his philanthropy. I know the heart of the guy. And I know he's made his fucking mistakes. That doesn't matter anymore. None of that shit matters anymore. And when he passed, man, that shit hit fucking hard. I remember making that tribute. It took like 10 hours.
Jesus.
And it was like one of the longest tributes I ever made. And yeah, man, I made a tribute for Lily too. Also, and it's to that song Over the Rainbow by that one Hawaiian singer, Israel. I don't know how to say his last name, but everybody knows it.
Yeah.
If I hear that song now, I immediate Niagara Falls out of my eyes. Yeah. I can't hear that song without correlating it to Lily. If I was ever an actor on set and they were like, Sketch, we need you to cry on cue, cue up Israel Over the Rainbow.
Yo, thank you for on behalf of the world for all the tributes you've done, because as we've lost people, you've stepped up and put in the work to put the tributes together for these people.
Yeah.
And, you've been consistent with it. It's been like your niche.
Yeah. It has. I feel like it chose me. I didn't really choose it.
But thank you from me and the world. I don't know.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, man. Well, moving on. What else can we cover here, man? What else do we got to get caught up on? We just went through your. Oh, this is what I want to ask you about. Splyce Studios.
Yeah.
Now let's talk. We did last time you were here at the beginning. We kind of got into it. I don't think we really dove too deep into the process of building a studio above your garage in your home, how difficult it is, not just first of all, to build it, to actually build it is one part of it. But the process of, do you have to jump through fucking flaming Cheeto hoops legally and restriction zones and all that shit? Did you have to get permission from the city and all that crap? And what's the process of building, for those who are looking to build their own studio in their home, like a real professional, top-of-the-line studio? How does it work, Splyce? Go ahead.
All I can talk about is my experience, and part of why I bought the property that I bought is because it had a permitted studio that was already there, in essence. Yes, it was like an empty room. However, that construction and that studio was already permitted, which was like probably going to be the biggest hurdle, right? And how long it takes, especially in California, can be a detriment to like what you want to do, a project. So in my case, it was finding a property that was brought to me by the real estate agent saying, okay, we have a property with a dedicated, separate, permitted studio that's ready to go and ready to build out. So, all right, that part covered. Now, what do? I'm not that good at construction, but I want to get one of the world's best studio designers and builders to come in and help me. And that's where shout to Julian R. Shout to Seif, Big Seif. The same gentleman helped him with his studio. He did the Scam Studios.
Wow.
Yeah, and his name's Rob Redberg. Got in touch with him. Where I was located, where he lives, and where he was at the time was like 8 minutes away. And he goes, thanks for the phone call. Let me shoot over to your place right now. Let's take a look. We met. We had a really good first conversation. We kind of outlined the vision.
Estimate.
And he goes, let me get home. Let me get busy. Let me come to you with a proposal for what we could do, where we are budget-wise, and we can get started, if all looks good. And I fell in love with the design. He cared a lot more about acoustics because he's building a studio that is going to be meant for mixing and mastering and vocals and production and recording instruments and everything.
And soundproof so that the neighbors don't get bothered by that shit. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most important, is building a studio in a residential neighborhood. And it's not just any neighborhood, but this is like, Topanga Hills, right? I mean, this is a nice
I'm leaving out the most important part.
Well, I mean, it's one of the most important. It's not but it is very important. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was right. We did the sound test to make sure that where we put bass traps and diffusing, it's not so much the highs, but it's going to be your bass and the rumble that's going to shake the studio and shake the neighborhood to make sure that we can, withstand that stuff. I cared about design. I wanted it to look like a dream studio that I'm going to want to be inspired to be in and get creative in and spend a lot of time in. And so we worked together.
Yeah, it looks like a spaceship, dude.
It looks like a spaceship.
It does. You got that big
so
triangle type of pattern in the middle. It reminds me of Daft Punk.
That's dope.
It's very Daft Punky.
I love Daft Punk.
I know. I wish they got back together.
Yeah.
But dude, it's now. Can we say how much you spent?
We can't say how much, but it was. Let's just say a lot of the extra money that I had saved up over the years. In between, like upgrading to this house, and then whatever extra money I had was going into building this dream studio. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. What kind of light bulbs you're using, what color light bulbs you're using, what kind of fabric you're using. There's different price points for the fabric and the insulation and the kind of materials that you're using and how many outlets you want to put wherever, and having electricians come in to add certain kinds of stuff. So financially, like I picked certain flooring that worked with me. I can tell you I spent thousands just to paint the beams.
Would it be fair to say total, ballpark, not exact, ballpark, this is me estimating, hundreds of thousands of dollars? Maybe about 300 almost.
It was ballparking.
Woo!
It was ballparking. I mean, like, damn. I couldn't afford to do everything I wanted to do, right?
At the moment.
And it took more time to start to like add on. There were add-ons that I could have chosen that I didn't do. For example, electronic blinds. Like that was like a luxury item where I was like, it'd be cool to hit a remote and like the blinds are like doing what they do.
Or you're like hey, what is it? Hey, Google. Lower the blinds.
That's cool. I have that. Probably there's people's Googles.
That's something else I got to point out about your house in general, not just the studio, Splyce Studios. It's the whole house you have is interconnected and wired to Hey Google. And there's it's like your house looks like a club in a sense. It's still very homey. It's very modern and sleek and kind of black gray countertops and quartz. It's very, very nice. But then as it gets nighttime, hey Google, switch on the ceiling lights, and then you got these track lights. They're not studio track, but they're like strands of lights embedded into the walls that change colors and go to the music. I mean, it's fucking phenomenal, bro. It's like the future.
The house comes to life at night in a different way because like the whole house is a very studio-ish vibe. Like the downstairs can open up in so many different ways where it's like an indoor-outdoor feel, which is really cool because, as you come in and out of the house, the flow up to the studio, it's all very
seamless.
Yeah, seamless.
Man.
And then you have the lights that are all like colors can be for whatever mood the artist wants in the house, outside the house, and in the studio. So like the whole like color coordination can continue, even in the driveway, like everywhere. It changes colors and can like, be changing colors. It can be static. I'm a geek on that stuff, which is super weird because like,
you're
I'll
a
do
gadget
so much
guy.
research on like LED strips, and I want spotless LED strips. It's my new thing. Like if there's
spotless, what does that mean?
It's hard to explain. It's not really. It's like you have these like old school LED strips that are made out of like a bunch of little dots, but now there's like a new technology where they like will send the dots backwards, and then what happens is like the reflective light hits like this kind of like overlay thing where you don't see any spots anymore.
Oh.
It's just this beautiful line of light.
It's seamless.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's built into the paint almost.
So I've done little upgrades that people wouldn't notice but me, where like the floor that lights up and illuminates like around the edges of the floor. It used to have little spots that would get on my nerves, and now it's like, all right, now I walk in and I'm like, ooh, that's clean.
Your house does remind me, there's like a reminiscent feeling of like Tron, the movie, or even Tron Legacy, with Jeff Bridges. It's very Tronish looking with the lights, and I think it could even get more Tron looking with the embedded seamless strands of lights that you have. I haven't been there in so long, man. I want to go back.
It's cool.
And just, man. But okay, what about the vocal booth? Because before we got on the pod, we were talking because you had gotten a call or something. No, not a call. You were telling me about a project that they were asking for a vocal booth, but you don't have installed. Are you plan on getting a vocal booth? And how does that, do you go back to Rob and does he build it? How does that happen?
Such a good question. And the thing is, like, I've had the studio for 5 years. The studio was built where modern musicians and artists and vocalists seem to love to work in the studio side by side with the producer.
Right.
You put on your headphones. The technology is so good on these microphones now.
Yeah.
And I'm using this Chaotica eyeball, which is really cool. So it's also like an extra layer of diffusion. But the whole room was basically essentially built as a massive vocal booth. Like there are no reflections.
Right.
It is just
and there's no control room. It's all within the room. There's
all
the
in one
couches, the console, everything's
Right.
in the same room. Now, normally, well, not normally, but let's say back in the day, there'd be more of studios that are like you have the music room where the artists go or the band goes to play. The mics are set up, connected to their instruments, etc. And then you got the engineer in another room behind the glass talking through the talkback. Can we take that again, Splyce?
Right.
You know, yeah. And then it's like, no, fuck that, I'm not doing it again.
Right.
So I didn't get that on the last take. You know, it's all back and forth, but there's none of that in your Splyce studios.
No, and it's never been an issue. In one case, you know, with a client, they preferred a vocal booth because their specific project called for it. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing to balance because it's like in 5 years, it's never been an issue. One client would like it. It can't necessarily hurt. It just takes up space in the room. You have to work out the ventilation because imagine being an artist inside of a studio, recording studio that's comfortable, but now you're in like an even smaller vocal booth.
Yeah, you're in a box.
And you're in there for however long it takes to do vocals. It could start to get hot and muggy.
And claustrophobic.
Yeah, so, you know.
You know what? Speaking of vocal booths, just as a sidebar, an easy fix to the vocal booth without having to really spend a lot of money. Remember Eric Edwards, Double E?
Yep.
Power 106 voiceover?
Yep.
Right? So he had a vocal booth in his house that was essentially just like plywood. He didn't make it. It was a professional like made vocal booth for the time. This is early 2000s.
Right.
And it was basically like felt covered, like the same material they used to cover DJ equipment, that
Yeah.
gray and black felt.
Yeah.
It's that, but it's like almost like a phone booth, but just a box, and it had a door, and you'd get in, and it had a shotgun mic.
Shotgun mic. I
right?
remember you telling me that.
Yeah. Shotgun mics, or he had one shotgun mic, and then you would sit outside, but it was in the same room. It wasn't like another room or like a booth that was built. It was just like a box that sat in his studio. He'd get in, and then he'd go, "All right, Sketch, can you hear me?" And he'd be coming through the speakers. I'm like, talk back. Yeah, okay, Double E. You're just going to say, like, you know, Big Boy's Neighborhood. And he'd come up, Big Boy's Neighborhood, blah, 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 and he would do his drops. But I'm like, why the mic booth or why the phone booth? Why the vocal booth, Double E? And he's like, well, this room isn't paneled with the soundproof panels.
Right.
So it bounces off the walls, and that's how you get that real... Now, this is for radio voiceover. In your case, it's not necessarily the same for music.
Right.
But in radio voiceover, just like in this room we're talking right now, it's covered in sound paneling. That's why it sounds so dead. It's called dead space.
Yep.
It's
No
dry.
reflections.
There's no reverb.
reverb.
It's not like we're in the bathroom or in a big living room where it's just open. Yeah, I can't stand when people do podcasts or even when the news, when they bring on people on Zoom and they're in their fucking kitchen.
Right.
And it sounds like they're in a wind tunnel. And they're on their AirPods, and I'm like, what are you doing? Go into your closet. Go into a room that there's clothes and shit. Nobody seems to understand that aspect of voiceover or proper sound acoustic settings.
Sound is so important. I remember some huge Instagrammer was telling me that like when she makes videos, the quickest way for her audience to tune out is if the sound's bad. She was like, it doesn't matter how good this looks. If the sound is bad, people will just skip it.
Yeah. That's how I am. I'll want to listen to like I listen to Stephen A. Smith. I watch Stephen A. Smith's show on YouTube, not on First Take because I don't have live television anymore. I don't have the YouTube TV, but I have YouTube Premium.
Dope.
And he has his show.
Me too.
Right? I love it. No ads.
It's
the
a good
best.
move.
It's the best. And it's only $14 compared to $83, bro.
Same.
And you'll get those 3-hour-long documentaries about history or space exploration. And it's got a British voiceover. And it's just so relaxing. I can focus on my work and I just hear like, and in the outer rings of Saturn, you can see the molecules building.
I remember one of the trips we went on, you were like, yo, if you put on SportsCenter to fall asleep, it's the most nice, soothing thing. Like you put it low in the background, they're talking, and you
with
put
the guide
timer.
menu.
Yeah.
The guide menu. So it dims it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Remember?
that's it. And you, boom. And
We
you
went
just
to
pass
Vegas.
out. We were in Vegas, and I was like, that's such a good move because it's so soothing. You just put it in the background, and then
you know what I got from
off.
you? So each one teach one. back then, this is 2013 when you and I went to Vegas for that
convention.
The convention
thing, yeah.
it was like a medical convention or
Yeah.
something like that, right? We were like superstars out there at that
Yeah,
time.
we were. It was-
We're at the MGM Grand the
Yeah.
entire time. I remember I was like drinking and partying. I remember like one morning we had a DJ early. You had a DJ early, and I was like, Splyce, I feel like shit, dude. And you were like, Sketch, just go back to the room, go to sleep, man. I'll hit you up when it's over.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, man. You're like, dude, don't worry. It's more important that you feel good. Because we had to get up early, bro.
Oh,
this
man.
isn't normal DJing time.
No, it's
dude.
not.
And it
It's
wasn't,
not.
but because it's a
These
convention.
are like 7:15 a.m. call
Yes.
times.
Like,
you know?
what?
Yeah.
Are we on Big Show? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah. On
So-
stage too at the MGM Grand Arena.
Yes.
For like thousands of people like,
Yes.
on camera.
Oh my God. It was
remember that.
brutal, bro. But I had a great time. But
Yeah.
to go back, I remember you were like, cool, go back to the room. I went back to the room, and that's when I put on the Sports Center. I closed the blinds and I put the guide on, so the guide on the screen so it dims everything more. And I was out, bro.
Yeah.
I don't think I had gotten better sleep that entire year than in that room, bro.
Yeah.
And I remember you came up after. You're like, dude, I'm so fucking beat. And we had separate beds. You laid down. I was in the bed. I put on Sports Center. I showed you like a military people coming home to their families.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of tearing up.
Oh man. Those are good.
We were like high school girls in that
Yeah.
one moment. And then we fell asleep.
Yeah.
And that was when you would learn. Now, what you taught me about background noise, ambience, when I started watching your Splyce Studio stories, and you'd put up like on YouTube,
Yeah.
you'd find those astronaut like ambient, space sound with astronauts, and they're like, it's very liquidy looking and cool graphics, and it just has that
rumble.
yeah, the drone underneath that rumble of space, right? The vacuum of space. But the visuals are so good, and it goes so good with your studio. So now, because I'm on YouTube Premium, I have a specific channel I go to called View Escape.
Okay, I
Right?
gotta
Or it's
check
called-
it.
Yeah, Viewscape. Is it View?
I think it is. I've seen that one pop up on mine.
Yeah, there's a few of them, but this guy who does the View Escape, I think I want to make sure. Hold on. Yeah, it's called View Escape. And there's one called Infinite Nebula Exploration, right?
Okay, let me try to find it on YouTube
And
right
it's
now.
just a bedroom with, it's this.
Ooh, I hear it. That's so good.
Oops, what did I just, it's catching up. It's just that for 11 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just that. And bro, I have this thing running 24/7 at my apartment. It's one of the best backgrounds.
Crazy about that is like I have ADHD, and that sound, certain frequencies help my brain in such a weird way. There's certain frequencies that are like very soothing,
Yeah.
and can be calming, and they can just put me in like a trance. And that's like one of those sounds where it plays, and you're like,
There's something it helps you focus, man.
yeah,
That and documentaries about archaeological finds from like,
Egypt.
Egypt or Israel or what have you, AE, or I'm sorry, AD and BC with a British voiceover,
yeah.
preferably a female. I listen to that and I'm just working, but I can hear her going, in 400 BC, the archaeological find was centered around the, you know what I mean? And it's so soothing to me and it helps me focus. But you can't listen to that all the time, man. You got to sometimes you got to turn it off and get into it.
Well, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
What's your social What's your social life like?
Oh,
As we get older, I'm so curious.
that's a great question, bro. My social life is practically at a 0.0. I'll be honest, man.
Really?
I'm 47 now, dog, and I'm not trying to be an isolated
Hermit?
hermit or a recluse, but I work so much from home. I'm always at home, and I remember there's a couple parts of this. I remember as a young man in my 20s, dreaming, wishing I could work from home. Right? I wish on it every day, like Double E. All these big radio heads, icons that would work from home and making buco bucks in their boxers and just going Power 106 and getting paid. And it's like, yo, man, I want to do that. And now I'm doing it. And I'm like, you know how they say, be careful what you wish for? Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't wish for that because it's very, very, at times, very lonely. And I have to be creative in that lonely space. And to bring it back to the social life, my social life revolves mainly around this podcast. So this conversation we're having and the conversations I'm going to have with the other guests coming up are probably going to be the longest forms of conversation I have with another human being in person for like another month. And then it's going to be like I'm orbiting Earth alone in a fucking ISS space station. And it's like, that's my social life now, or it's on Instagram. But I don't really have one. I don't go out. I don't go to clubs. I don't go out to dinner with people. Nothing. It's kind of fucked up, you know? But at the same time, I'm kind of cool because I know as soon as I let new people into my life that haven't already been there, that means by default I'm inviting their drama into my life too, and vice versa. You know, and I feel like I'm at an age now where I don't want anybody else's drama at all. And if it means sacrificing my peace of mind over the quote unquote loneliness or what have you, because I don't really get lonely. But there's times, little spurts of loneliness that come in. You know what I mean? I'm a human being. We're social creatures. Yeah. But like, I also think, but dude, I have so much other shit I got to do. And I find solace and peace in that work that I'm like, well, I wish I was invited to that event to go see such and such with the rest of everybody, you know, at work. But I wasn't. So instead, I'm going to like work on this shit. And I'm going to make some money. And that always makes me feel a little better. Even if it's just a little bit of money, I'll make a couple of creative things for chase cuts. And then I'm like, cool, now I feel better. Now I'm going to watch White Lotus. You know what I mean? And just cool out. Yeah, but yeah, man, there's certainly, it's become a, like, why am I always alone? Am I a toxic person? Like, do people just not like me because I'm outspoken? And
I like you.
I know, I like you too, bro. I love you, man. I love you. But like, you know, you've learned to tolerate me, and I feel like I'm an acquired taste for most people who don't know me. They're scared of me because I'm different. Not saying they're afraid of me physically. I'm just a different type of guy, and I feel like people are kind of off put by that. You're such a guy who's so easy to get along with because you have such a great personality. Plus, you're a Pisces, man. You know,
I have like a depth of understanding some psychology stuff, and I'm just understanding people, and understanding everyone's perspective and sometimes where they're coming from and why and what has led them to see the world the way they do. That's the way I try to look at it. Yeah. With you and with everyone.
And you're patient, bro. You have a calm patience, like you, Bob.
Yeah.
A lot of the people I bring on, especially males, onto this show, onto my podcast, most of them are like you, meaning they're super calm. And I'm the opposite of that. And I feel like when I bring you on, or I brought Bob on, or I bring whoever else that has that level of calmness to them, it centers me. It's like mental yoga. It's like I need it it's cathartic to me to sit here and speak with you on such a human level, not just as Splyce the artist, not Splyce the DJ, but Michael Eisner, my friend.
Right.
But I don't even really call you Michael at all. I call you Splyce. But you know what I mean? Like,
no, I know
it's like
mean.
the man,
Yeah.
And that to me is, I don't know, man. I feel like it's starting to slip away. Like my connections to people, like in person and having conversation or just going out to lunch and shit. It feels like it's starting to slip away. But you know what? I also know that the few friends that I do have that I know I can call right now, maybe they won't pick up because most people don't pick up calls anymore. But I know that they'll be there. Vic 1. I haven't talked to him in months. I know if I needed him, he'd be there.
Great guy.
Big, without fucking question. You, for sure, but you might be in another country. You know, but you folks are like my people.
Right.
And you know how there's those memes on Instagram that go around? It's all, who checked on you today? Exactly. Take care of yourself. That type of shit. And it hits me when I see those posts, those memes. I'm like, yeah, nobody did check on me. And it's kind of fucked up. And then I go on and then I'll scroll further down and I'm like, oh, look who's out with each other having lunch or they're traveling. And I'm like, what, you know, what am I doing wrong? But then I'm like, do I want that? Because here's the other thing, Splyce. Sometimes I do get invited to shit. And then I say yes. And then the day comes, I'm all, fuck, why did I say yes to this shit? I don't want to go. But then I do go and I end up having a great time. But it's the whole like anticipation or reluctance to want to take an Uber to the West Side and, you know, spend money but I need to do it. I have to do it because it's for my own mental peace, you know? What about you, man?
No, I feel the exact same way.
Question
the
to
thing
you.
is I relate to everything you're saying, and I don't know if we all feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
No matter how busy I am, I still feel lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
No matter how many things I get invited to, you think about the ones you didn't get invited to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's times where you do get invited and you think, yeah, dope. And then you don't want to go. Or you
just can't wait to get back home.
Right. You have to force yourself to like go out, and the anxiety of like, what if this, what if that, what if this? But I will say I'm starting to get a little more comfortable in my own skin, and I'm starting to feel like when I go places, this is me, this is it, this is the good, this is the bad, this is the DJ part is a part of me. It's not the whole me.
Right.
I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, and
bad
I'm a DJ.
motherfucker.
I'm all these little different parts of me, and this is what it is, and I'm not perfect, and I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to walk into conversations in a way that I felt like I had to like prove my value, so they felt like they were talking to someone worthwhile talking to. Now it's more like, I've done this stuff, and if you're curious to know, I'd be happy to share, but I don't need to like go out of my way to prove how worthy I am and how good anymore.
Right.
But then you get the people that and we're in a world where like it feels like if I can't do anything for them to help them, I'm worthless or useless. Exactly. And I don't like that feeling. No one likes that feeling. And I don't like feeling like my home is my safe place. And anytime I leave my house, now I'm vulnerable to getting my feelings hurt. Now I'm vulnerable. I don't like saying that word over.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable to, to people making fun of something or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's like I'm good and safe and comfortable at home. But the problem is when we have such a comfortable life at home, we're not pushing ourselves.
Right.
And we're not growing. And the thing is like, it's all these experiences that I want to keep having where I keep growing and getting better. And the world keeps testing me.
Yeah.
And, but I've pretty much said yes to everything I get invited to. So whether I want to or don't want to, or in the moment get nervous about it, I've said yes. And I pretty much say yes to everything I get invited to if I am able to do it.
Yeah.
Unless I have something else that conflicts.
Right.
And that's what keeps me busier, but we only live one life. So it's hard to tell yet how much of it is worth what. There's times when you start to get to a point where you don't have to do everything, and you start to just choose what you do.
And then you know what that's also known as high class problems. Because it's like, damn, and it's weird because you don't see it because you're in it. But at times I even have to step back and go, look what you're having to choose, make decisions on. People would fucking kill to be able to have to make these quote unquote rough decisions or these lonely decisions or whatever.
Look where we are.
I know.
Look at where we are recording.
It's wild.
Like this place, it doesn't get bigger and better, right?
Know.
In the world.
We're at the top of the line on the West Coast, at the top of the biggest fucking radio conglomerate on planet Earth.
It's not like boohoo us, it's not like we're still human.
Yeah.
And that's what's weird about human nature.
Yep.
That the brain will feel this like there's more, or we need to be,
or the grass is greener.
Yeah, and it's hard to. Everyone says appreciate what you have, and you have to take that deep breath and do this like morning gratitude. Like there's a cool morning gratitude. Like name 3 things you're excited for the day, and you have to force yourself to come up with them.
Coffee, number 1.
That's as simple as coffee. Hell yeah, every day.
Iced coffee, number 1. I'm excited for it.
I get to get out of bed. I'm becoming such a coffee nerd.
Yeah.
And I thought I was a big coffee, fanatic. And then DJ 5 blew me out of the water with these videos he showed us.
Is he a coffee head?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
His machine is
what does
insane.
He have?
Bro, he has like this insanely expensive machine. I have what's called the Breville Barista Express. It's like a very good homemade espresso machine. His is like that, like huge money,
like $5,000 machine. You need a pilot's license to operate it.
And then he had all the goodies, like a pressurized handle that you like push down.
Damn.
And I ended up going and buying one after I saw what he had. I was like, okay, I thought I was like doing it. I had like an okay tamper, but
Right.
he has like this special pressurized tamper for like consistency. And we all measure the beans and stuff like that.
Wow.
Like, you time the shot to do all of it.
And then what about the beans? Where do they come
beans
from?
too,
What are you
like,
getting?
He roasts his own beans. So that was like another level. I was like, bro, like now you're levels and levels and levels ahead of everything. And I was like, I thought I was big on coffee until I was like, there's so many levels to it.
Bro, it's
You
a
know?
whole, it's truly a profession. And the people, like, for example, when we went to Alfred's and we got our iced coffees.
Right.
I trip out because I make, now granted, I have a very just regular, like a $40 Amazon coffee maker at home just to make but it still has punch to it. It's still, because I get Pete's coffee whole
Pete's is
bean.
good.
I don't do the grounded because, this is something
I
very.
like Pete's.
Pete's is amazing. Shout out to Vic One for hipping me to
And
that
my
too.
boy Ron Dvorsky.
So this is something that I just recently discovered being a coffee aficionado or learning to become one, at least making just regular ones at home. I started buying ground coffee from the supermarket and I would use that in the machine. And suddenly all these fucking fruit flies started appearing out of nowhere,
way.
right? I live in a studio apartment.
No way.
My apartment's tiny. It was during like summer, so I had the windows open. And like fruit flies are really tiny. They can fit through the little squares of the screen, right? Especially the littler ones. But they just started showing up, and pretty soon I have a lid over my trash can. I would throw the coffee grinds in the trash can, right? That you're not supposed to throw them down the drain.
I do the trash can too.
So I put the trash can. A couple days later, I would see one flying, and I'm like, where are they coming from? My doors are closed. I'm not letting them in. There's no windows open. Sure enough, I open the trash can. There's swarms of them in the trash can. And I'm like, how did they get in? And I read online, if one gets in and it's a female, it can fucking multiply like the movie Aliens within like what seems like hours. Okay. So then I found out, this brings me to my next revelation. I'm reading on a Reddit about how to not avoid the fruit flies, right? Because they're immediately drawn to the scent of burning coffee or coffee in general. They love it, just like we do. So
I do.
I love that. So I don't really like burnt coffee, but just that smell of roasting coffee, in your house. It's just, there's something so beautiful about it. So like I'm reading on and it says ground coffee is known to have cockroach excrement in it because
God.
they get now granted, eating cockroaches and bugs is not technically bad for you. They did it on Fear Factor. You can survive off that shit. It's just the idea of it isn't settling. It's unsettling. So they're like, the way to avoid it, get whole bean and grind them yourself. You'll never have to worry about the excrement again. So I did that. But sure enough, the fruit fly still kept coming back. So I'm just like,
Oh man,
I know they're not in the
That's
coffee
not the
thing.
twist I was expecting.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be solved because I do
Well,
the whole beans too. I ground the beans.
Yeah, I ground them, but I think what it is during the rainy, cold season, they're like nowhere around. But as it gets warmer, if they smell it through the window, they'll get in through cracks. They'll get in through. If you open your door and two fly in, they're going to
I'm
have
not gonna lie to you. I might do that for some coffee too.
Yeah.
If I didn't have coffee, I might start doing that stuff too.
What do you mean?
I love coffee. Fucking break in through the cracks.
Yeah, right? And then what they do is they'll get into the coffee maker and start laying eggs.
That might be me.
And I'm like, what's happening here? I'm getting overrun by fruit flies. So you can, another remedy to that brings me back to Alfred and then the remedy. I asked one of the Alfred's coffee people, I'm like, do you get fruit flies in this establishment? And then one of the guys pointed up to the ceiling or to the wall and said, we have an industrial size bug zapper in here. And I go, what about at home? He goes, all the time. Ooh. And I go, what do you do to mitigate it? He goes, I stick fly trap paper in the trash can.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I started doing that, but then I started dumping the coffee grinds into my toilet and then just following it with hot water so it makes sure it flushes all the way down, right? It pushes it all the way down. And then I'll take the remainder of the grinds that are around the filter because I have a filter. It doesn't need to be replaced with that paper, that wax paper shit. It's just a filter. You just wash it and then use it again. Yeah. And I just rinse it out and put those down the drain in the garbage disposal and grind them up. And that's it. But man, I don't know if 5 is dealing with that, the fruit fly issue, because it seems like it's unavoidable. Like if you have a coffee maker of any sort in your house, fruit flies somehow it's like a beacon. It just calls them in and then they multiply rapidly like the movie Aliens. It's like you'll have 2 in there. By tomorrow, you have 20. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
We should be exterminators. We crush it in this city.
I think we would have a lot of business.
Right.
But fruit flies aren't that detrimental. They're just annoying.
Annoying.
You know what I mean? They don't do anything but just annoy you. But yeah, anyways. But I asked the Alfred's guy, I'm like, yo, man, why, on a side note, besides the fruit flies and cockroach excrement and ground coffee and all that, I just was like, why doesn't my coffee taste this good?
Right.
Like there's something, I don't know, I'm using the same method. Obviously, I don't have the same necessary equipment, but there's like this like franchise taste that you can't get at home.
I don't know why when someone else makes you something, it tastes so much better.
Right.
They're definitely using whatever beans they're using. Their machine is going to be pulling a certain kind of taste. If you are pulling too long or too little on the timing, it's either going to be like too bitter
or too watery.
Yeah, or
that's
too
my
watery.
thing. Mine's too watery all the time, but it still has that punch.
Right. No, it's just the flavor. It's just going to be the flavor. And so they're pulling from the world's best machines and maybe the world's best beans, and and then you're using high quality oat milks or syrups. I mean, there's different levels.
It's even just the consistency of Alfred's coffee. It's
right. It's smooth.
It's creamy and yet not too potent where you're like cracked out. You know what I mean? But you're like you feel it. You feel it, and then it tapers off nicely. It's not like this hard crash come down that you would normally get from like Starbucks or something. There's a different level, man, and I wish I knew how to make coffee like that because I don't. But then I'm glad I don't because I'm able to go to Alfred's and then they do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's nothing like it. Dude, coffee and weed are my thing.
You know what I liked about them today?
Go ahead.
They were so nice to us.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
they liked us and they liked being there.
Yeah.
As opposed to so many places you go where it's like, they're rude. They don't seem to like being there. And it's like, not my fault. We just...
Right. I think they also get a lot of complaints when they don't make the drinks right. And then people are just rude. The way they come back and they're like, I didn't ask for this. It's just like, hey, bro, you know how many fucking drinks they're making per 5 minutes? Yeah, it's a mistake.
Yeah,
they'll fix it. But you don't have to be mean about it and be rude. You're like, excuse me, I didn't ask for this. I did it. It's just like, hey, man, I wouldn't even complain. I would just drink it, and the next time, just make sure you you over communicate to them to make it right. Right. Because really, I know that people are paying like $8 to $10 for a drink, and I know that you should have your drink made right. But sometimes shit's gonna happen,
Absolutely.
And everything that I've gotten from Alfred's, even if they've messed up, they haven't even messed up the order. But even in my days going to Starbucks, sometimes they'd make it wrong. I would just take it.
Right.
I would just take it and be like, cool. I'm just gonna drink it. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it's not the end of the fucking world either.
This one's such a fun topic because this one's gonna be like a buzz topic where some people are gonna like be outraged and be like, absolutely not.
Right.
It has to be perfect.
Right.
Other people are going to be more like, hey.
Especially the baristas that work those hours. And not only that, but they have to wake up like 5 a.m. They get to work and they get their own free coffee. They're employees. They should. But it's like, I just feel like a lot of them are young folks. Mm-hmm. Young folks that are just trying to do their job. And so it's just like when the mailman delivers the wrong mail to your house.
Yep.
Do you yell at him?
Nope.
Yeah, or her?
Nope.
No. It's just, it's human error.
Totally.
And yet nothing that they make is ever that bad.
I think it's emotional maturity. I think you have an emotional maturity and an understanding, and you've been working, you know what I mean? And you know what it's like.
Right.
We all know what it's like. When you've been doing something a long time and you work, mistakes get made. It's not personal.
Yep.
And coming at it with anger and rage and entitlement.
Yes.
It's just like
it's so
bad taste
unbecoming
in your mouth.
It's unbecoming. It's worse than the coffee breath you're going to get after your coffee. And you know what? I even can relate to that though, because when I make mistakes on my production, like sometimes on commercials, like I'll, have the music too loud, which is very rarely, but let's say that happens, or like the talent will misread the script and they'll skip a word, and then the client or the AE comes back and they're a little too aggressive. Like, he missed this word and da-da-da-da. And it's just like, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
Keep your shirt on. Everybody relax. I'm going to fix it. But you ain't got to blow a gasket over it because it's just a commercial that can be fixed. But it's like, and I get it. It's life and death because it's their money. It's commission money. It's this and that, but it's not the end of the world. Yes. It's wild, man. But yeah, man. Bro, Splyce, we've covered a lot, man. Let's sum up. Shall we sum up? Let's sum up. What have we learned today? We've learned about the Topanga Hills Mafia group. We've learned about Splyce Studios. We've learned about the different genres of music that you've endeavored into and have what appears to be dominating in the Spanish realm of EDM. You've gotten a song on the Billboard charts. Congratulations on that. You've built a home studio, top of the line by Rob. And we're both coffee aficionados. What else? Am I leaving anything else out?
We crushed. I had so much fun. That's
Yeah?
number one. Yeah, spending time with you and being back with you is something that was needed in my life.
Same.
So appreciate that invite.
Likewise, bro. Why don't you give out the socials for all the socials, your social, Topanga Hills, and Splyce Studio.
Okay, we'll start with Splyce is just SPLYCE.
That's your own,
If you
IG.
want to check out the studio, Splyce Studios, same name, SPLYCE, Splyce Studios on Instagram and TikTok. And then I'm a member of Topanga Hills Mafia, which is easy. Topanga Hills Mafia.
There it is.
And that's it.
And if you need to book a studio,
Yes.
a recording session, hit up splystudios.com. You can book,
Yeah.
right? splystudios.com. You can book online. The prices are outrageously fair. And it's a top of the line studio spot. It's still, I know it's 5 years old, but I still consider it one of the newest, best studios in Southern California, and a resident studio.
Yep.
So yeah, man, check it out. And dude, Splyce, I can't thank you enough for coming back and
Thank you.
spending this time with
Thank
me,
you.
man.
I'm proud of you.
Proud of you,
You
bro.
are oozing with talent. You know that.
Likewise.
It's really cool to see you continue to win, continue to grow. And I've just been a little part of your journey, but it's a big part of my heart.
You're a big part of my journey, and I hope to have you back on again in the future so we can talk some more shit.
Love it. Love it.
Love you, Splyce.
Love you.
Until we meet again.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
Hey, too much information and shit, man.
Shut your mouth, essay.
Okay, bye.
If it still bothers them, that's what someone says is an issue, not an ish me.
Yes.
It's an issue.
It's an issue. I get it. Fuck, that's genius.
Shout out to Neil. I heard that from Neil.
If you got an issue, here's a tissue.
Splyce.
He's sensational.